Hey everyone, I'm Mike Settele, and in this video, I'm going to take Digital SAT number 4 in the College Board's Bluebook app for the very first time. I've never seen these questions before. You will see me encounter them for the first time without knowing the answers or even how to solve them. So first of all, spoiler alert, I'm going to give you the answers to pretty much all of test number 4. So do not watch this video unless you yourself have taken test number 4 before, because you want to make sure that you have that test to get a score, to get experience. And then once you've done that, you can come back here and compare your performance to mine. But if you're just looking to review your answers to test number 4, I don't actually recommend this video. Instead, use the link that's in the description that has the individual videos for each individual question. Literally, I have a much more detailed explanation in that playlist, including explanations for the easy modules for this test. And in this video, since I was encountering these questions for the first time, I didn't know what I was doing. I was trying to figure it out, so I didn't always use the best way. Sometimes I got answers wrong, as you will see. And so there's just kind of just me going through them as fast as possible to get as many points as possible. Those other videos that are in that other playlist are going to be much more detailed, much more thorough, and they will tell you the best strategy. Another thing to note before you watch this is I made this video before I was good at making videos. So this is actually a recut of 4 videos that I published separately, one for each section. So you'll see, I definitely look a little younger, I think, but they're also going to be a little poorly put together. I was not taking the test in the Bluebook app at the time. There's lots of cutting. There's different outfits because I was taking them on different days. It doesn't matter. Regardless, I was still taking this test for the first time. I had never seen the questions before. I had no idea what the answers were or the best solutions were going to be. So the other weird thing here is because it was 4 separate videos, I do go over each section right after it's done. So use the timestamps in the description to jump to the right place. If you don't want to know any analysis until the whole thing's over, feel free to just skip those analysis pieces until the end. I promise though, my walkthrough videos for tests 5 through 10 are much, much better. I'm taking the test in the Bluebook app. My screen is better organized. Everything is much, much better. So if this is your first experience with me and my channel, please be just generous. I promise it only gets better from here. And then because this is now an updated video of some old videos, I did have some new thoughts about this particular test. So at the very end of all this, I have some updated analysis about what I think about test 4. I talk about the scores and my overall performance. So make sure that you check that out. There are some things I think about this test that I didn't really know at the time because we were still getting used to the digital SAT. It had just been released when I made this video. So we didn't have as much knowledge about the test as we do now. With that in mind though, let's get into the test itself and let's start with reading module 1 for digital SAT number 4. All right, I've got 32 minutes on the clock for 27 questions. Ignore the timers that are on the pages here. That's just what it was when I took the screenshots in the app. I'm gonna keep track of it and I'll update you on the time as I get through each part of the section. So here we go, 32 minutes, let's begin. All right, let's focus in on this question. Although critics believe that customers would never agree to pay their own produce on farms, pick their own produce on farms, such concerns didn't. Okay, so although such concerns didn't, there's going to be some sort of contrast. Booker T. Whatley's efforts to promote the practice, thanks in part to Whatley's determined advocacy, farms that allow visitors to pick their own apples. Okay, this is definitely something like the word stop, right? Such concerns didn't stop him from doing this, and hinder means stop. So that's definitely the answer there. Okay, number 2. The artisans of the place in Benin City, Nigeria, typically something, the bronze and brass casting techniques that have been passed down through their families since the 13th century, but they don't strictly observe every tradition. Okay, so typically follow these techniques or use these techniques, something like that, because there's a contrast here. They don't strictly observe every tradition. They use air conditioning monitors. So they typically follow, adhere to, yeah. Adhere means to stick to, so that works perfectly there. Loading problems, okay. Set in a world where science fiction tropes exist as everyday realities, Charles Yu's 2010 novel, whatever, traces a time traveler's quest to find his father. Because the journey at the novel's center is so something with the protagonist ricocheting chaotic, so chaotic, it's so chaotic, the reader often wonders whether the pair will ever be known. Okay, so something like chaotic, haphazard is a dead-on synonym for chaotic, so that's probably it. Yeah, let's keep going. Okay. Which choice? Okay. More vocab. In 2019, this person, they found something to escape. Okay. Uses a strategy to escape irritating stimuli, but also switches strategies when one fails. So it switches, it escapes. This evidence of protozoans sophisticatedly changing their minds, that seems important, demonstrates that single-celled organisms may not be limited to, I don't know, a simple or a single behavior. Oh, perfect. Rudimentary behaviors. Perfect. That's what simple means. Yeah, it's the only one that's kind of negative here in the right way. So that's going to be it. Okay. Number 5. Normally on the test, you won't have to worry about things loading. That's friggin' PDF. Okay. Some economic historians something that late 19th, early 20th century households experience an economy of scale. They assumed that large households. So assumed. This is just a synonym for assumed. They're restating the same thing. They showed the opposite. So they assumed. Some economic historians questioned that late. No, they're assuming it. They didn't regret it. Surmise is such a weird word, but it basically means like believe. So that's got to be it. Contrive is like kind of like almost like lied. It kind of means like faked. So yeah, that doesn't work there. This is such a weird sentence though. I don't love this, but that's the only one that makes sense. All right, let's see. All right, this is also a vocab question. Answers most nearly means. Okay. Answers. One workman is 2.5 workmen. Machine. Imperfect. It was too expensive. Oh, here it is. They underline it. It was not effective. It no longer answers the requirements of modern engineering. Nature has no idea of keeping pace with modern. So it no longer does or meets the requirements. Fulfills. Explains, rebuts, defends. Yeah, fulfills the requirements. That definitely is it. Okay. All right, and here is a passage question. So we're going to stop here, pause. That's at 28 minutes. So roughly, roughly 4 minutes, not even, to get through 6 vocab. Those have to be fast. Let's take a break here, and we'll start with the passages. As I start the passage questions, I have 28 minutes and 24 seconds left on the clock. This is where I think I'm going to eat up most of my time, and where you need to be careful that you're also moving fast and not getting bogged down in one question. So let's see how it goes. All right, ready? And begin. Number 7. All right. According to the text, why would a helicopter built for Earth be unable to fly on Mars? Okay, so set out to build a helicopter because there's only 1% is dense. Okay, only 1% is dense. The air of Mars would not provide enough resistance to the rotating blades of standard helicopter. For 5 years, they tested designs. The craft ultimately designed longer, rotate faster. Okay. So there you go. So it's the resistance and the density. So let's see here. So I cannot highlight in the question, in the choices. Because Mars have different, okay, that seems right. Because the blades of helicopters built for Earth are too large to work on. No, they wanted longer blades for Mars, so that doesn't work. Because the gravity of Mars is much weaker. They didn't talk about gravity at all, I don't think. Because helicopters built for Earth are too small. No, it's not. It's not about the size of the helicopter. It's the blades. So it's definitely A. Okay. 8. Which choice best states the main idea of the text? In West Africa, jails have traditionally been keepers of information about family histories. Is it jail? Oh, I don't know what that word is, but jails is a different thing. Okay, so keepers of information about family histories and records of important events. They have often served as teachers and advisors too. The technology may have changed some aspects of the world today, but jollies continue to be valued for knowledge. Okay, so it's about knowledge, knowing, and protecting people's stories. Okay. Even though there have been some change in the roles, judges continue to preserve their community's histories. Maybe, I don't know if the changing role was important. Although judges have many roles, many of them like teaching best. These are people? Oh my gosh, okay. Well, they don't talk about their many roles, then what they like? No, that's definitely not right. It's not about what they like. Jollies have been entertaining? No. Technology can now do some of the things? No. This is definitely A. It's more positive about what these jollies things are. I don't know how to say it. I don't really care. Okay. Main idea of the text. Okay. From Called the Wild, Buck is a sled dog living with John Thornton. Okay. Thornton alone held Buck. The rest of mankind was as nothing. Chance travelers might praise or pet him, but he was cold under it all. And from a too demonstrative man, he would get up and walk away. When Thornton partners, Hans and Pete, arrived in the long-expected raft, Buck refused to notice them till he learned they were close to Thornton. After that, he tolerated them in a passive sort of way. I don't know what this is about. Accepting favors from the... Okay. This is a dog. Buck. Yeah, I have no idea what this is about. Let's look at the choices. Buck has become less social. No, they don't really compare over time. We're not getting a past here, so that doesn't make sense. Buck mistrusts humans. Is this maybe? Well, I don't know if he mistrusts humans. He seems to be fine with Thornton, so I don't know. Buck has been especially well liked by most. Okay, most is a very strong word. That's almost always going to mean the thing is wrong. We don't know most of his friends. Okay, Buck holds Thornton in higher regard than the other person. Yeah, it's about Buck and Thornton, and the other people are kind of secondary. That's definitely it. Okay, which quotation most effectively illustrates the claim? Okay, it's a book. DeBar says that on hearing black folk songs, he felt an intuitive and sometimes unexpected sense of cultural recognition. So intuitive, unexpected. Those are strong words. I need to think about those. Black folk music still remains as the singular spiritual heritage of the nation and the greatest gift of Negro people. Nothing unexpected there. Okay. Ever since I was a child, these songs have stirred me strangely, strange, unexpectedly. Okay. They came out of the South unknown to me one by one, and yet at once I knew them as of me and of mine. Intuition. This is definitely the answer. Let's look at C. Caricature has sought again to spoil the quaint beauty of the music. That sounds negative. And has filled the air with many debased melodies, which vulgar ears. That sounds bad. The true Negro folk song still lives in the hearts of those who have heard them. This is about other people, not about him. The songs are indeed the siftings of centuries. The music is far more ancient than the words. Yeah, this has nothing to do with him. So, look, unexpected, intuitive. We get both of those ideas in choice B. It's important in the question. It's important in the choice. Boom. All right, which choice most effectively uses data from the graph to complete the example? So typically with these, I'm going to look at the data first and see if it actually makes sense. So what are they saying here at the end? In some regions, female farmers were found to be especially prominent in the cultivation of specific types of crops and even constituted the majority of farmers who cultivated those crops, for instance. So percentage of small farmers were female. So, okay. So they're talking about majority who cultivated a crop. Okay. Most of the farmers who mainly cultivated cereals and most of the farmers who mainly cultivated non-root vegetables in South Ondo were women. Cereals and non-root vegetables. So the cereals are at 35 and the non-root vegetables are at 50-something in South Ondo. That's the rightmost thing. So that's just not true. That's just not true because 35% is not most, so that doesn't make sense. B, more women in central Ondo mainly cultivated root crops than cultivated cereals. No, because that's not what the chart is saying. It's not comparing the different types of crops. It's comparing basically women to men, so this is just wrong. Most of the farmers who mainly cultivated non-root vegetables in north and south Ondo were women. So non-root vegetables is the black one, and more than 55 in north, more than 50 in south. That seems right. Yeah, because it's above 50%, so that's majority. D, a relatively equal proportion of women across the three regions of Ondo mainly cultivated cereals. I guess that's kind of true, but that has nothing to do with what the passage is saying. So I would say D is true, but not relevant. C is true and matters. We want something where the women are the majority. So that seems to match with C. So that seems right to me. Okay. All right, logically completes the text. Scholars have noted that F. Scott Fitzgerald's writings were likely influenced in part by his marriage to Zelda Fitzgerald, but many don't recognize Zelda as a writer in her own right. Indeed, Zelda authored several works herself, such as the novels Save Me the Waltz and numerous short stories. Thus, those who primarily view Zelda as an inspiration for F. Scott's writings, here I would use my scrap, are wrong. Right? She is a writer. That's the point of this. She's authored several works. She's a writer in her own right, numerous short stories. So those who say that she's only an inspiration are wrong. So let's see if we can get anything that matches that. They overlook the many other factors that motivated F. Scott to write. Nope, it's not about him. It's about her. Risk misrepresenting the full range of Zelda's. Okay, maybe that's it because it says that they're wrong, so they're misrepresenting something. C, may draw inaccurate conclusions about how F. Scott and Zelda viewed each other. No, it's not about the two of them together. Tend to read the works of F. Scott and Zelda in an overly autobiographical. No, I don't think there's anything to do with it. So it seems like B is the only one that's just kind of saying they're wrong. All right. 13. Completes the text. Herbivorous sauropod dinosaurs could grow more than 100 feet long and weigh up to 80 tons, and some researchers have attributed the evolution of sauropods to such massive sizes to increased plant production resulting from high levels of atmospheric carbon dioxide during the Mesozoic era. See how I noticed, like, okay, I don't care about the sauropods, I care about what they're saying about the sauropods. That's how I know what's important. However, carbon dioxide levels coinciding with relevant periods in sauropod evolution, such as when the first large sauropods appeared, when several sauropod lineages underwent further evolution, or when, okay. What? However, there is no, oh, I missed an important line. There is no evidence of significant spikes during these periods, suggesting that it's not, okay, so not about carbon dioxide. That's my note that I leave to myself, okay. Suggesting that fluctuations in atmospheric carbon dioxide affected different sauropod lineages differently. Well, it's not saying that they're different effects. They're basically saying there is no effect because it didn't match up, so I don't think that matters. The evolution of larger body size in sauropods did not depend on increased, yeah, that seems right. Atmospheric carbon dioxide was higher when the largest known sauropods lived than it was when the first sauropods appeared. Well, it doesn't say that. It just says the spikes didn't happen at the right times. It doesn't say higher or lower. So I don't know. I don't know if that's true. D, sauropods probably would not have evolved to such immense sizes if it had been even slightly higher. No, because it's saying the opposite. It's saying the carbon dioxide is supposed to have made them bigger, but they didn't get bigger. The evidence is not there. So yeah, it's just B. This is just a fancy way of saying we thought one thing and that thing was not true. So there you go. Okay, 14. Okay, here we go. Grammar questions. Let's take a pause. All right, the next grouping of questions is going to be about grammar, and these are where the pace starts to pick up again, and I have 19 minutes and 12 seconds left in the clock. That's a long time, so I don't think I'm going to have any trouble finishing this. You know, we'll see if maybe I hit some hard grammar somewhere, but this is a really good sign. The passages did not take me long at all. In fact, I don't even think I have any that I'm nervous about. So let's just dive into this and see where we end up. Okay. So question 14, 19 minutes left. All right, let's see. So which completes the thing? So Rawls is what we're talking about. Known for her massive photorealistic paintings of African-American figures floating or swimming in pools, Khalida Garcia Rawls was the logical choice to design the book cover for this book, a novel about an, okay. I don't know, why would I need any punctuation? Known for her massive photorealistic paintings of African-American figures floating or swimming pools. That's a long intro. Khalida Garcia Rawls was the logical choice. Yeah, it's just, that's the sentence. I don't think there's any punctuation here. Yeah, we have a long clause at the beginning added on. We have a long clause at the end added on, but the main sentence is in the middle. Khalida Garcia Rawls was the logical choice to design the book cover for Ta-Nehisi Coates' The Water Dancer. That's the whole sentence. No reason for any punctuation. Okay. Moving on. So this is probably also about punctuation. I see there's a period, a comma, some maybe slight changes in the wording, so it's probably about sentence structure. In 2010, archaeologist Noel Hidalgo Tan was visiting the 12th century temple of Angkor Wat in Cambodia when he noticed markings of red paint on the temple walls. With the help of digital imaging techniques, he discovered the markings to be of an elaborate mural. So this is two sentences. So I think I just need D. I think I just need a period. He was visiting the temple when he noticed markings. Then we're going to go into a new sentence with the help of this. So that's an intro clause. He discovered the markings to be part of, yeah, this is just two sentences. I need a period here. Easiest way to do that. Okay. All right, maybe we have some apostrophes here. Which choice completes the text? Okay. Recently ran simulations to determine the extent to which individual snow grains' physical properties affect the amount of light reflecting off a snowy surface. Okay, so you got to break these down. So the physical properties, that is not owning anything. There is no reason for it to have an apostrophe. It is not the properties effects. The properties are doing the action. They are affecting. So we don't need any apostrophe there. So that would get rid of A and C because those have apostrophes on properties. So it's either B or D, and the difference there is whether we need an apostrophe on grains. Not even where it goes, just do we need it. And yes, because the grains possess the physical properties. The physical properties belong to the grains. The individual snow grains' physical properties, yeah. So it's got to be B. Definitely easier to break that down piece by piece. Okay. All right. Again, it looks like punctuation. We've got an and, a semicolon, a comma. All of this is about sentence structure. The Mission 66 initiative, which was approved by Congress in 1956, represented a major investment in the infrastructure of overburdened national parks. It prioritized physical improvements to the park's roads and utilities, blah, 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 while also establishing educational programming for the public. Again, this sounds like two sentences. I think I need some sort of strong punctuation mark. It's weird to use the semicolon, but that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to separate two complete sentences. So my sentences are, the Mission 66 initiative represented a major investment in the infrastructure of overburdened national parks. Sentence 1. It prioritized physical improvements to the park's roads, utilities, blah, 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 while also establishing educational programs. So you notice I'm kind of skipping the list. The list is just getting me kind of confused about where the sentence is going, but the list can go on and it picks up. So, utilities, employee housing, and visitor facilities will also, yeah, it's got to be the semicolon. This is weird, but it's just two sentences. I need either a period or something like a period to connect the two sentences, and so that's what the semicolon does. Yeah, and the choice A is wrong because there's no comma. If there's a comma, then we could use a conjunction like and, but I don't think that's going to work here. Okay, this is definitely about verb tense, or more accurately, probably about singular versus plural. So what do we need to find the subject of this verb. The progressive era in the United States witnessed the rise of numerous black women's clubs, local organizations that advocate racial and gender equality. Among the club's leaders was Josephine St. Pierre Ruffin, founder of the Women's Era. So it's one person. I know it says leaders, but the subject is this person. It's kind of a backward sentence. I get what they're doing here. I'm even more confident that it's A, because look at the other choices. So A is a singular verb, and then plural is were, are, and have. They're all the wrong thing. So the fact that one of them is different probably means that it's right. So I'm going to stick with that. That's just a very weird sentence. The way I think of it too is Josephine was among the club's leaders. That's how you and I would say that. So that's more normal, and that proves that that's what it's supposed to be. Okay. This is probably about, yeah, looks like punctuation again. What do we do with these dashes? Eli Eisenberg, a genetics expert at Tel Aviv University in Israel, recently discovered that cephalopods, I'm reading choice A, ocean dwellers that include the squid, the octopus, and the cuttlefish have a special genetic ability called RNA editing that confers evolutionary advantages. Okay. They're trying to confuse you. They're trying to insert extra information in our sentence, and they're doing it so that the extra information has a list. So I need to figure out what the sentence is. Eli Eisenberg, now we have a positive, we're telling us extra information about who he is, recently discovered that cephalopods, and then we have all this info about what cephalopods are, and then have a genetic ability called RNA editing, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so between cephalopods and have is my extra stuff here. So I need to separate that out. Two commas might work, but I don't have two commas here. Here we're putting the dash in weird places. C, we're introducing a colon for no reason. So it's got to be D, and this is exactly how I would have punctuated this if I wrote it. Where instead of using commas to separate the extra information out, we're using dashes because the extra information includes commas because it's a list. So that's kind of confusing. So yeah, let's keep moving. All right. Which choice completes the text that it conforms to the sentence? Okay, so verb tense. A model created by biologist Luis Valente predicts that the rate of speciation, the rate at which new species form, on an isolated island located approximately 5,000 kilometers from the nearest mainland, triple the, oh my gosh, I can't follow the sentence. So let's cut the middle part out. A model created by this guy predicts that the rate of speciation on an isolated island will be triple the rate of speciation on another island. Oh my gosh, there's a lot of adjectives in there. So yeah, he's predicting it, so that's why it's got to be future tense. It predicts that this rate will be triple the other rate. See, this simplify a sentence, get it down to some more basics. Okay, this is a different type of question. It looks like grammar, but it's actually transition, so I'm going to pause right here. These transition questions are also quick. I've got 11 minutes, 27 seconds on the clock. I'm not worried about my timing at all. There's no way I run out of time in this section. So let's just keep going and see how much time I have left when I'm completely done. Ready, set, go. Okay. All right, most logical transition. So let's see. Award-winning travel writer Linda Watanabe McFerrin considers the background research she conducts on destinations featured in her travel books to be its own reward. So seems good. McFerrin admits to finding the research phase of her work just as fascinating and engaging as exploring. Okay, so this seems positive as well. So I don't think by contrast would work. That seems wrong. Find the written, yeah. Likewise is so weird. Besides is also kind of a contrast word. I think it's going to be in fact. In fact, McFerrin admits to find the research phase because, yeah, background research, research phase. So likewise is a word that's used to compare two things. These aren't two things. This is one thing. This is research in the first sentence, research in the second sentence. In fact is used to kind of emphasize a point. So they're emphasizing it. They're saying, yes, indeed, she finds it fascinating. So that seems right. Of all the questions I've done so far, this is the only one that I'm like a little nervous about. Not even that nervous. So I might mark it for review. But background research to be his own reward. In fact, she admits to finding the research just as fascinating as exploring person. Yeah, that's the answer. I'm not really worried about it, but I'll just mark it for the sake of it. All right, 22. Oh, wow, only one transition question. So we're going to pause again because now we get to these outline questions, and I guess there's going to be a lot of them. All right, the outline questions are the last type. I have 9 minutes and 53 seconds for, what, 5 questions? This is going to be a joke. So I'll take my time, but I've got plenty of it to play with. All right, ready, go. Okay. The student wants to introduce the novel The Holder of the World to an audience already familiar with this person. Okay, so that's the key piece. So what's going to do that? This person was an Indian-born author. She published this thing. Okay, central character. The novel is a woman living in 20th century United States. Another central character. Okay, this is just about the book. So someone who, I guess, I don't even know what facts matter here. It's just going to be about how they present those facts, I guess. Maybe we don't need to know that she's an Indian-born author. I don't know. All right. Choice A, Bharati Mukherjee's settings include, okay, that just seems like a random fact. I don't see why that would mean that we're already familiar. Okay. In addition to her novel, this, which was published in 1993, Indian-born author, okay, Mukherjee wrote other novels. Well, if they're familiar, they would probably know that she already wrote other things, so that probably doesn't make sense. Mukherjee's novel centers around 2 women, one living in 20th century United States and the other in 17th century India. Okay, that's just a description of the novel. Again, I don't know why anyone who's familiar would care about that. The Holder of the World is not the only novel. Ugh, I don't like any of these. Okay. I'm missing something here. The student wants to introduce the novel The Holder of the World to an audience already familiar with Bharati Mukherjee. So if you're familiar with her, you don't need to know like her background, I guess. Okay. So do we then need to know that she's Indian-born, right? So let me get rid of these crosses, right? So we're already familiar. So why would you need to know any of this if you already know this? You want to introduce the novel. Maybe that's a piece. Introduce the novel. Okay, so it's about the novel. So I don't care about her per se. She wrote other novels. Again, if you already knew that, you'd be fine. The Holder of the World centers. Yeah, I think maybe C. I think it's C. And my reasoning is that it doesn't really talk about her. It talks about the novel and saying, okay, here's this, you know her, but let me give you the details about the novel. This is weird. I don't like this question, but I would probably mark it for review, but I think C is going to be the answer. The student wants to present the study and its findings. Okay, study and its findings. All right, pterosaurs, that's not the study. And in 2001, analyzed fragments of pterosaur jaw bones. Okay. She was initially unsure if the bones belonged to juvenile or adult pterosaurs. She used advanced microscope techniques to determine that the bones had few growth lines relative to the bones of fully grown pterosaurs. She concluded the bones. Okay, so the conclusion probably matters. So this part probably is important. So present the study and its findings. In 2021, this person studied pterosaur jaw bones and was initially unsure if the bones belonged to juveniles or adults. Does not include the findings. Definitely wrong. Pterosaur jaw bones located in Sarhadis were the focus of a study. Does not include the findings. In a 2021 study, this person used advanced microscope techniques to analyze the jaw bones of pterosaurs. Okay, again, not the findings. In a 2021 study, this person determined that pterosaur jaw bones located in the Sahara Desert had few growth lines relative to the bones of fully grown. Yeah, that's the only one that includes the findings. That's definitely it. All right, 24. The student wants to introduce Samuel Selvon and his novel, The Lonely Londoners, to a new audience. Okay, so we don't know who he is. We want to talk about the novel and the person. All right. He was a Trinidadian author. It's one of his most celebrated novels. He was published in 1956. It's about a group of men who emigrate from the Caribbean to Great Britain after World War II. Some of the Lonely Londoners characters also appear in Selvin's later novel, Moses Ascending. Honestly, any of these could be useful information to someone who doesn't know who this person is. So I guess it's all about the presentation. In 1956, Trinidadian author Samuel Selvin published one of his most celebrated novels, The Lonely Londoners, which is about a group of men who emigrate. So that seems thorough. I feel like I don't know much about him until I read that sentence. That seems fine. Samuel Selvin wrote the novel Moses Ascending after he wrote The Lonely Londoners. But if we're not familiar, we wouldn't know. We're not being introduced to Lonely Londoners here. We're being introduced to Moses Ascending. The question wants us to introduce Lonely Londoners. So this is backwards. C, The Lonely Londoners is a celebrated novel that was published in 1956, depicts post-World War II Caribbean migration. Well, this doesn't talk about the person. It's the perspective as Trinidadian author, but it doesn't mention Samuel Selvin, and we need to put him in here. So that doesn't make sense. Some of the characters who appear in this book also... Okay, so again, this is about the other book. So I think it's A. I get it. It's just like all the stuff kind of combined into one sentence, and yeah, if we've never heard of this person before, we'd get the gist. Okay. 25. How am I doing? 5 minutes left. The student wants to emphasize a similarity between the two sea turtle species. Okay, similarity. 7 species of sea turtle exist today. 5 sea turtle species. Okay, one of those species, and scientific name is this. Another of those species is the olive. It's signed. Okay, so probably it's where they can be found. That's the only thing that seems to talk about multiple species at once. Among the 7 species of sea turtle is the olive ridley sea turtle, which can be found. Nope, that's not about 2. The Kemp's Ridley sea turtle is referred to as this, while the other... So again, that's not a similarity, that's a contrast, right? The word while suggests a contrast. Both this and... I don't know, that's a good sign, both. Both the Kemp's Ridley sea turtle and the olive ridley sea turtle can be found in the Atlantic Ocean, so that seems like a similarity. The Kemp's Ridley sea turtle and the olive ridley sea turtle are different species, so different means no, they're not the same. So similarity is the key word. And choice C is the only choice that actually involves a similarity. It has nothing to do with anything else. It's really just the idea of a similarity that we needed. All right, 4 minutes, 26. The student wants to summarize the study. Okay, summarize the study. Okay. In 2019, Emily Shepard and colleagues in the UK and Germany studied the effect of wind on auks' success in landing at cliffside nesting sites. Okay, so they studied that. Okay, they found as wind conditions intensified, the birds needed more attempts in order to make a successful landing. When the wind was still, almost 100% of landing attempts were successful. In a strong breeze, approximately 40%. In that, okay, 20. All right. For a 2019 study, researchers from the UK and Germany collected data on auks' attempts to land at cliffside nesting sites in different wind conditions. I mean, that seems to be summarizing the study. B, Emily Shepard and her colleagues wanted to know the extent to which wind affected auks' success in landing. Okay. So, but that doesn't summarize the study. That summarizes like the thing that made them do the study, right? So that's not quite the same thing. Knowing that auks often need multiple attempts to land at their cliffside nesting sites, Emily Shepard studied the bird's success rate, which was, okay, but how did she study it? We need to summarize the study. Emily Shepard's 2019 study of auks' success in landing at the cliffside nesting sites showed that as wind conditions in... Okay, but that's the findings. Summarize the study does not say summarize the findings. It says summarize the study. So I think it's going to be 26. 26 is the question number. I think it's going to be choice A. Choice A. Yeah. I'm not super sure of that one, so I'd mark it. I got almost 3 minutes left for the last question here. The student wants to introduce Paradise to an audience unfamiliar with the novel and its author. Introduce. That probably matters. This person, I don't know these names. This is what kills me. I'll talk about that maybe in my analysis. It was awarded the 2021 Nobel Prize in Literature. Gurna was born in Zanzibar in East Africa and currently lives in the United Kingdom. Many readers have singled out the book Paradise for praise. It's a historical novel about events that occurred. Okay, so this is just all data about him and the book, I guess. So unfamiliar, strong word in the question. Abdul Razak, who wrote Paradise and later was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature, was born in Zanzibar in East Africa and currently lives in the United Kingdom. Okay. Maybe. It's not really talking about the novel that well, or that much. Many readers have singled out this book as a historical novel about... Yeah, but it doesn't talk about him. So it's not introducing him. A much-praised historical novel about colonial East Africa. Paradise was written by... Okay. C seems to be doing it. Paradise is a historical novel about events that occurred. Okay, not about the person.
I got a minute and a half. I think it's C. C seems to be doing the best job of balancing the book and the person, right? Who is he? I wish that choice C said a little bit about where he was born. All right, I got a minute. Introduce paradise. Okay, we're introducing the book. The question says introduce the book. The book is the focus. C makes the book the focus. Yes. I think it's C. I don't love this question. Normally I find these ones kind of easy. So I've got 30 seconds left and I've answered everything. Yes. So let's take a break here. I'm going to grade myself and see how I did. I'd probably have used the 30 seconds to do some more checking, but let's just cut it off here. Okay, so I got one question wrong, number 26, one of these outline questions. I get why D is the answer, and I think in the future now I understand what the instruction means. And that is such an important part of these outline questions. You really need to know what they're asking for, because there's lots of ways to take the data points that they give you and kind of turn them into a sentence. But they're asking for a specific kind of sentence. And to me, when I read that they want to summarize the study, my interpretation of that instruction was focus on the study itself. How was the study conducted? What was its purpose? So I picked choice A, which is wrong, and I thought, okay, they collected data on their attempts to land at cliffside nesting sites. It's literally just about the study and like kind of the purpose of it. It doesn't necessarily get into how they collected the data. Maybe that would have been more useful. But what I guess failed to understand is that summarizing the study, at least in the SAT's eyes, means, beginning to end, right? What was the study and what were the results of the study? So D is actually the answer here. Emily Shepard's 2019 study of auks, success in landing at cliffside nesting sites, so that's what it was meant to measure, showed that as wind conditions intensified, the bird success rate decreased. So it includes the findings. And that is, honestly, that's why I got rid of D when I was doing the question originally, is it didn't say to summarize the study and its findings. So I found that question was a little vague, but maybe for the future now I understand what is implied. And this is why we practice, so we can learn the language of the test and understand what they are after. All right, before I begin, just one last thing is this timer up at the top. This is just that's not the real timer, so ignore that. That's just what I took when I had the screenshots. The real timer's on my own screen, and I will update you with how much time I have left as I go. So I'm going to try to move fast because this is the harder section, so there's going to be more time in some of these passage questions. So for these vocab ones, we're going to have to start off moving fast. Let's go. 3, 2, 1, begin. Okay. All right, so vocab. In studying the use of external stimuli to reduce the itching sensation caused by an allergic histamine reaction, blah, 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 and colleagues found that while harmless applications of vibration or warming can provide a temporary distraction, harmless vibration applications, such harmless stimuli actually offer less relief than a stimulus that seems less benign, like a mild electric shock. So yeah, they're repeating themselves here, so I'm looking for a word like harmless. They're repeating the fact that these are harmless stimuli, and innocuous is a perfect synonym for harmless. Deceptive, no. Novel, no. Impractical, no. Okay, definitely that's the answer. All right, number 2. Okay, still vocab. New and interesting research conducted by this person, inspired by their observations that though there have been many studies of the effect of high altitude, there have been many studies on blood chemistry, there is a blank studies of the effect on blood chemistry. Okay, so it's the opposite of many. So there is a few studies, something like that is what I'm probably looking for. There is a quarrel about, a paucity. Paucity means a lack of something. Profusion is the opposite. That means there's a lot of it. Verisimilitude has nothing to do with it. So paucity is the word there. Just means the opposite of many. Okay. Same thing. Still vocab. Whether the reign of this person was historically consequential or relatively uneventful, its trajectory was shaped by questions of legitimacy and therefore cannot be understood without a corollary understanding of the factors that allowed the monarch to blank his right to hold the throne. Wow, this is a tough sentence. Okay. It was shaped by questions of legitimacy, cannot be understood without understanding the factors that allowed the monarch to It's about legitimacy. I don't know. Maybe something like assert his right to hold the throne. Reciprocate, annotate, buttress, disengage. I guess buttress means support because it's about legitimacy and whether or not he was able to hold the throne. So I guess the monarch is trying to hold it. So I think that that's right. This one's hard though. I might bookmark that and come back, but I'm pretty sure I'm right, but there you go. All right, 4 also vocab. This person's study showing that individual acts of kindness can blank pro-social behavior across a larger group. Blank, pro-social behavior across a larger group. Young and her team found that bystanders who witness a helpful act become more likely, this is definitely repeating something, more likely to offer help to someone else, and in doing so can inspire still others. Okay, wow. Individual action can spread pro-social behavior across a larger group because if there's a single act, you're more likely helping someone else and inspiring others, so it's spreading, I think. Or can foster pro-social behavior. Foster means to help along, so foster, that makes sense here. It's a positive word, and that's what I need here. Okay. Yeah. All right, now we have a passage. I'm going to pause so we can make a little bit of a chapter note here. I just passed into, I have about a little under 29 minutes left. So that's, 3 minutes for those 4 questions. That's pretty good. You got to move fast here. In fact, I think I probably should have moved a little faster, but that's okay. I think I'm going to be able to make up time in the grammar at the end, but let's pause here before I start on the passages. The passage questions are going to be the most time-consuming ones that you'll have, so you've got to just really be watching the clock here. I'll try to update you as I go through and just let you know if I'm feeling nervous about where I am. But as I said, I've got just under 29 minutes left, so I've got plenty of time, but I know I'm going to suck up a lot of time here. So let's start with question number 5, 3, 2, 1, resume. Okay. Which choice best describes the function of the underlined sentence? Okay. This is some writer and the text. This person recalls how the woman in his tribe harvested maple syrup during his childhood. Okay. Now the women begin to test the trees, moving leisurely among them, axe in hand. Okay, so this is describing it. The trees, like people, have their individual characters. Some were ready to yield up their lifeblood, while others were more reluctant, so it's describing the trees. Now, one of the birchen basin was set up under each tree, and a harbor chip driven deep into the cut with the axe had made. Okay, so it's just describing a process, but this is talking about the trees. So, okay, let's see if that matches anything. It portrays the range of personality traits displayed by the women as they work. No, it's about the trees, not about the women. So that's wrong. It foregrounds the beneficial relationship between humans and maple trees. Well, beneficial is positive, but this sentence seems mixed, right? Some are ready to yield up their lifeblood while others are more reluctant. So just even that doesn't seem right. I don't think this is about the beneficial relationship. It's just describing the trees and giving them kind of a metaphor. It demonstrates how human behavior can be influenced by the natural environment. Nope, not about humans. It elaborates on an aspect of the maple trees that the women evaluate. Ugh, I don't like that one either. I guess, well, it says in the previous sentence that they're testing the trees, moving leisurely among them, striking a quick blow to see if the sap would appear. And the reason is that the trees are just like people and that each tree is different. So, yeah, I guess that's it. It's mostly because I don't like the other choices. I'm pretty sure D is the answer there. All right, let's move to 6. Which test? Okay, main purpose. All right. Jane Eyre, hate that book. Okay, the narrator works as a governess at Thornfield Hall. I went on with my day's business tranquilly, but ever and anon vague suggestions kept wandering across my brain of reasons why I should quit. And I kept involuntarily framing advertisements and pondering conjectures about new situations. These thoughts I did not think to check. They might germinate and bear fruit if they could. Okay, so she's thinking about quitting. All right. So the main purpose is to convey a contrast between Jane's outward calmness and internal restlessness. Well, she is calm, she's tranquil, so that maybe makes sense. And restless, she's thinking about quitting. I don't know, that might work. B, to emphasize Jane's loyalty to the people. No, she's thinking about quitting. No way. To demonstrate that Jane finds her situation both challenging and deeply fulfilling. Well, deeply fulfilling is really, really strong, strongly positive, and just because she's tranquil, that's about the only positive word I get here. The rest is negative, so I don't think that that's right. To describe Jane's determination to secure employment, no, because she's not determined to do it. A and D are very similar, but like she's not really determined to do it. She's kind of seeing it come, and she's not sure if she should quit. Yeah, she's not determined. That word determination is too strong. A is the best option. She's calm, but inside these thoughts are bothering her. Yeah, I'm not 100% in love with that choice, but for now it's good. Maybe I'll mark it if I got time. Okay, overall structure. Musician Joni Mitchell, who is also a painter, uses images she creates for her album covers to emphasize ideas expressed in her music. For the cover of her album, okay, so let me just highlight that. Images to emphasize ideas expressed in the music. Okay. For the cover of her album, blah, 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 she painted a striking self-portrait that closely resembles this. The image calls attention to the album's title song, in which Mitchell sings about the legacy of the post-impressionist painter. In that song, Mitchell also hints that she feels a strong artistic connection to Van Gogh, an idea that is reinforced by her imagery on the cover. This is just a blank statement followed by an example, okay? So let's see if anything kind of matches that. So general to example. It presents a claim about Mitchell, then gives an example supporting that claim. I think that's probably it. It discusses Van Gogh's influence on Mitchell, then considers Mitchell's influence on other artists. No, other artists aren't mentioned. C, it describes a similarity between two artists, then notes a difference. No, it doesn't start with... Van Gogh doesn't even come up till halfway through, so I don't think that that's it. Describes the songs on this album, then explains how they relate to the album's cover. No, it doesn't describe the songs. It talks about one song, right? The title song. No, D is definitely it. That just matched what my impression was. So this is why when you have a dumb summary, keep it dumb. Like, don't get complicated, because a lot of times the dumb answer is what's right. Okay. Function of the underlined sentence. Okay. A study by a team including finance professor, whatever, suggests that exposure to sunshine during the workday can lead to overly optimistic behavior. So sunshine makes you overly optimistic. Using data spanning from 1994 to 2010 for a set of U.S. companies, the team compared over 29,000 annual earnings forecasts to the actual earnings later reported by those companies. So this is a description of maybe an experiment or something that they did. The team found that the greater the exposure to sunshine at work in the 2 weeks before a manager submitted an earnings forecast, the more the manager's forecast exceeded what the company actually earned that year. So those are the findings. So I don't really care about the findings. I care what the function of this sentence is. Remember, stay on task here. It's a setup to what the study is doing. It just does not summarize the results of the analysis. No, that's what the next sentence does. B, it presents a specific example that illustrates the study's findings. No, it does not. It's not the findings. To explain part of the methodology used in the team study, right? What are the methods they used to conduct the study? That seems right. To call out a challenge the team faced? No, definitely not. So C is the answer. All right. Based on the text, what would the author of text 2 most likely say about text 1's characterization of the discovery involving EGR? So I'm still unsure what my strategy for these is. I guess I should read text 2 first so I know what text 2 is thinking, and then I can compare that to text 1. I don't really know. Let's do that. Let's see if that helps here. So text 2 about the discovery involving EGR. Okay, so what does text 2 think? When Mansi Srivastava and her team reported that panther worms, like humans, possess a gene for EGR, it caused excitement. So the EGR caused excitement. However, as the team pointed out, the gene likely functions very differently in humans than it does in panther worms. She has likened EGR to a switch that activates other genes involved in regeneration in panther worms, but how this switch operates in humans remains unclear. Okay, so they're excited and then they're like skeptical or something, I guess. So, okay. Most animals can regenerate some parts of their bodies, such as skin, but when a 3-banded panther worm is cut into 3 pieces, each piece grows into a new worm. Researchers are investigating this feat partly to learn more about humans' comparatively limited abilities to regenerate, and they're making exciting progress, so exciting. An especially promising discovery is that both humans and panther worms have a gene, so promising that they both have the gene for early growth response linked to generation. So this matches, I get what they're saying, that the text 2 people would be like, okay, yeah, this is great, but it doesn't necessarily mean anything is really important. So let's see. What would they say? Okay, they would say that it's good, but not great, something like that. It is reasonable given that Srivastava and her team have identified how EGR functions in both humans and panther worms. No, they don't know. It said at the end of that passage that it remains unclear, so they don't know how it functions. B, it is overly optimistic given additional observations. Yeah, it's overly optimistic. It's good, but not great. That seems right. It is unexpected given that the team's findings were generally met with enthusiasm. Well, no. First of all, the team's findings were not generally met with enthusiasm. They have that however piece in there that says that they're skeptical of some things, so I don't think that that's right. It is unfairly dismissive given the progress that she and her team have reported. No, because text 1 is being really, really positive. It's only in text 2 that they get dismissive. So let me just make sure I got this. What would text 2 say about text 1? They would say it's overly optimistic because of what else they found. Yeah, that's definitely it. All right, data. Ugh, okay. For these, I'm trying to kind of maybe get some accuracy first. What is this all about? Okay, so it gets cut off a little here. That says example. And then this is where it would go. All right. Most effectively uses data from the table to complete the example. Okay. So many, I'm going to start here. In fact, so many films and associated records for this error have been lost that counts of those 4 figures output should be taken as bare minimums rather than totals. It's entirely possible, for example, that, okay, so it's a bare minimum. So the number of films is actually higher than what it should be. That dark cloud acted in significantly fewer films, no. 66. I mean, that's just true, but that has nothing to do with it being like a bare minimum, so I don't think that that's right. B, Edwin Carews, 47 credit films, only films made after 1934. I don't think that's related. Lillian St. Cyr acted in far more. It is entirely possible that Lillian St. Cyr acted in far more than 63 films, directed more than 58. Yeah, that seems right? If it's a bare minimum, then it's possible that it's more than what it says. So 66 for Lillian, 58 for Edwin. Yeah, okay. Actually directed 30 films and acted in only 10. No. That's just switching the numbers. It's C. C is the only one that has to do with, like, it's possible that the numbers that we have in the chart are more than what they say. So C is the only one that makes sense with the passage. Which finding, if true, would most directly support this claim? Okay, so we got to find out what their claim is. What's their claim? Mosasaurs were large marine reptiles that lived in the late Cretaceous. These people examined these isotopes in order to calculate likely mosasaur body temperatures and determine that mosasaurs were endothermic. That is, they used internal metabolic processes to maintain a stable body temperature in a variety of ambient temperatures. So stable temperature. Okay, internal leads to stable temperature. They claim that endothermy would have enabled mosasaurs to include relatively cold polar waters. So there's 2 claims here. One claim is that they're endothermic. The other claim is that because they're endothermic, they can go into cold polar waters. So we want to support that, either of those claims. Let's see if anything does that here. Mosasaurs' likely body temperatures are easier to determine from tooth enamel data than the body temperatures of non-endothermic. That doesn't seem related. I don't know what that's about. Fossils of both mosasaurs and non-endothermic marine reptiles have been found in roughly equal numbers in regions known to be near the poles during the late Cretaceous, though in lower... Okay, that seems related because it's mentioning a lot of the key things, but if it's saying that non-endothermic and the endothermic mosasaur are in equal number, then there would be no difference, right? So they want to, I think, claim that these things, because of their endothermic, could go to these places. That maybe B is right. I don't know. That seems off. Several mosasaur fossils have been found in regions known to be near the poles during the late Cretaceous, while relatively few fossils of non-endothermic marine reptiles have been found in those locations. Yeah, that seems to distinguish between the two. During the late Cretaceous, seawater temperatures were likely higher throughout mosasaur's range, including near the poles. No, it's about the mosasaur, so let's not change the temperature of the water. Let's focus on what the mosasaur is doing. C is what is saying that because these mosasaurs are special, they can go to the poles, whereas other animals couldn't. That seems like what they're saying. This is a tough one, but I'm pretty sure it's C. We've got 16 minutes left, and we're not even halfway through the section, so I got to pick up the pace here. Which choice best describes data from the graph? Okay, I'm going to go right to the choices here. I'm going to just see if anything's wrong based on the graph. The average numbers of managers and department leaders reporting directly to their CEO didn't fluctuate from 1991 to 1995 period to the directly to their CEO. Average numbers reporting directly to the CEO. Of course it fluctuates, right? The black bar is higher. That seems wrong. The average number of managers reporting directly to their CEO is highest in the 1996-2001. No, it's higher in 2001, 2008. The average number of department leaders reporting directly to their CEO was greater than the average number of managers reporting directly to their CEO in each of the three. So department leaders, yes, that's true. That's higher. So that seems right. The average number of department leaders reporting directly to their CEO rose over the three. Yes, that also seems true. So both of these are true, but what are they saying we need to support the researcher's conclusion? These people assess the number of managers. According to the researchers, the findings suggest that across the years analyzed, there was a growing interest among CEOs in connecting with more departments in their companies. Yeah. Yes, because it rose over time. I think D is the answer because it's about the departments connecting with them because there's more reporting of the people to the things. Average number of department leaders reporting. Yeah. Yeah, because they're not comparing and contrasting managers to department leaders. Across the years, there's a growing interest among CEOs in connecting with more departments. Yes, because yeah, that's right, that's right. Okay, how many more of these are there? Shoot. Oh my God, 15, 16, finally. Okay, 4 more. All right, we're gonna hustle. We're gonna hustle. We got 15 minutes left. Weaken the astronomer's claim. Okay, what does the astronomer's claim? Given that stars and planets initially form the same gas and dust in space, some astronomers have posited that host stars such as the Sun and their planets such as our solar system are composed of the same materials, with the planets containing equal or smaller quantities of the materials that make up the host star. This idea is also supported by evidence that rocky planets in our solar system are composed of some of the same materials as the Sun. So they're saying there's evidence, but same materials, equal or smaller quantities. Okay, so what would weaken that? Let's just take a guess. They're not the same. Or we have planets contain larger quantities, right? Because if it says it's equal or smaller, then if it's larger, that's going to weaken their claim. Okay, most stars are made of hydrogen and helium, but when cooled, they are revealed to contain small amounts of iron and silicate. I don't think it has anything to do, it's only about the stars. We need it to be about the stars and the planets, I guess. A nearby host star is observed to contain the same proportion of hydrogen and helium as that of the Sun. That is not comparing stars and planets. Evidence emerges that the amount of iron in some rocky planets is considerably higher than the amount in their host stars. That's literally just what I guessed there. That's probably it. The method for determining the composition of rocky planets is discovered to be less effective when used to... Okay, so it's definitely C, and it's because it's... First of all, it's the only one that really talks about both the planets and the stars in the same choice. So that's also reassuring, and it matches something that I anticipated it to say. Good. Which finding, if true, would most directly support the claim? Okay, what's the claim? While attending school in New York City in the 1980s, this person encountered few works by African artists in exhibitions, despite New York's reputation as one of the best places to view contemporary art from around the world. So few works, okay. According to an arts journalist later in his career as a renowned curator and art historian, this person sought to remedy this deficiency, not by focusing solely on modern African artists, but by showing how their work fits into the larger context of global modern art and art history. So larger context, global, not by focusing solely on modern African artists, right? So big picture, that's what we're looking for. Something about big context, global context. Okay. As a curator of this place, Germany, Answar organized a retrospective of this other person, one of the largest art exhibitions. Okay. That's not big context. That's one example. So I don't think that that's right. In the exhibition, Answar and Curator, okay, brought works by African artists such as this person together with pieces by major figures from other countries like U.S. artist Andy Warhol. Okay. Maybe. That seems bigger context, right? It's lots of artists, maybe. And C, this exhibition showed how African movements for independence from European colonial powers focused the Second World War profoundly, following the Second World War, profoundly influenced work by African artists of the period. Again, that's not big picture. It's earlier. I don't know if it's modern. I don't know. This person organized the exhibition not to emphasize a particular aesthetic trend, but to demonstrate the broad range of ways in which African artists have approached the medium of photography. Ugh, okay. Not by focusing solely on modern African artists, but by showing how their work fits into the larger context of global modern art and art history. I think it's B. I think it's the only one that talks about global context. It doesn't have to say that the global context has to be African, so I think that's it. Yeah. Hard one. Which choice most logically completes the text? Okay. What is the text saying? One challenge when researching whether holding elected office changes a person's behavior, is the problem of ensuring that the experiment has an appropriate control group. To reveal the effect of holding office, researchers must compare people who hold elected office with people who do not hold office, but who are otherwise similar to the office holders. Okay? Since researchers are unable to control which politicians win elections, they therefore, I don't know, do not know what the control should be? Something about the control. Struggle to find valid data about the behavior of politicians who do not currently hold office. Okay, maybe. And only conduct valid studies with people who have previously held office rather than people who presently hold office? No. The control is supposed to be people who don't hold office at all. Yeah. Should select a control group of people who differ from office holders in several significant ways? No. That's the opposite of what they're saying. We'll find it difficult to identify a group of people who can function as an appropriate control group for their studies. Yeah, I think it's D. I'm confused by this one. The whole point of this thing is just saying that it's hard to match a control with the elected people. So I think that D is kind of just reinforcing that idea. I don't know. I got only 10 minutes left, so we gotta go. Which choice most logically completes the text? This is the last one of these, maybe the second to last? Okay. Compiled in the late 1500s largely through the efforts of indigenous scribes, this thing is the most important collection of poetry in classical Nahuatl, the principal language of the Aztec Empire. The poems portray Aztec society before the occupation. These notes indicate that much of the collection's content predates the initial invasion. Nonetheless, some of the poems contain inarguable references to beliefs and customs common in Spain during this era. Thus, some scholars could have concluded that it's not just pre-Spain. That's what it's going to say, something like that. While its content largely predates the invasion, this thing also contains additions made after the invasion. That's probably it. Although those who compiled this were fluent in Nahuatl, they are limited knowledge. No. Before the invasion of Spain, the poets of the Aztec Empire borrowed from the literature. No. The references to beliefs and customs in Spain should be attributed to a coincidental resemblance. No, that's a big leap. It's much more likely that it's just like from Spain. It says they're inarguable references. Definitely A. Oh, all right, now we're at grammar. I'm going to take a pause here just to reset my video and everything like that. Okay, I have 8.5 minutes left for about 11 questions. That's not bad. These should be fast questions. They're grammar. They're maybe some outline questions, some transitions, things that are very fast. So I'm not worried about time, but I also acknowledge that I had to move pretty fast through those passages. We'll talk more about that at the end. But yeah, that was about 20 minutes for those passage questions. That's a long part of the section. So just plan for that. So let's get started here with this. 8.5 minutes on the clock. Ready, set, go. Okay. All right. To humans, it does not appear that the golden orb weaver spider uses camouflage to capture its prey. Rather, the brightly colored arachnid seems to wait conspicuously in the center of its large circular web for insects to approach. This is definitely two sentences. So I need some sort of break. It's not going to be B. There's not a strong enough break there. A also, we need a semicolon. The question is whether the rather is with the piece or not. It does not appear that the golden orb weaver uses camouflage to capture its prey. Rather, the brightly colored arachnid seems to wait conspicuously in the center of its large web for insects. So it's definitely that the rather goes with the second part because it's contrasting with the first part. If it were with the first part, it would have nothing to contrast with, so that wouldn't make any sense. All right. Okay. Bonnie Barati of NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory studies data about Saturn's rings when she, was studying, something like that, when she made, this is a tense question, an interesting discovery, the tiny moons embedded between and within Saturn's rings are shaped by the buildup of ring material. Okay, this is a tense question, so studies doesn't make sense. Has been studying? No. Was studying, it's something like that. This is the future tense. Was studying data about Saturn's rings. Yeah, when she made this discovery. Yep, good. Okay. Okay. This is another kind of sentence structure thing. On July 23rd, 1854, a clipper ship called the Flying Cloud entered San Francisco Bay. Having left New York Harbor under the guidance of Captain Josiah Perkins Creasy and his wife, navigator Eleanor Creasy, a mere 89 days and 8 hours later, the celebrated ship set a record. This is a crazy sentence. Okay. A clipper ship called the Flying Cloud entered San Francisco Bay. That's a sentence. Having is going to maybe start an intro clause that has lots of pieces here. The actual sentence, though, is this. The celebrated ship set a record that would stand for 135 years. So there are two sentences here. I need to break it apart So the only thing that's going to do that is a period. Having left New York Harbor under the guidance, yeah, because there's no other break here. So I need something strong. I need a period. Oof, man, that's a messy sentence. This is terrible writing, but whatever. Okay, so this is like tense or maybe singulars and plurals. Bengali author Toru Dutz, Sheaf Gleaned in French Fields, a volume of English translations of French poems, has enhanced scholars' understanding of the transnational multilingual context in which Dutt lived and worked. So it's a singular thing. It's the book. The book is what we're talking about. So the book is one thing, so we need a singular. So are is plural, have is plural, enhance is plural, so has enhanced is the only one that's singular. Yeah. Okay. We got 5.5 minutes. Okay. All right, another sentence structure thing. Archaeologist Layla Nema recently traveled to Hegra to study its ancient tombs. Built into the rocky outcrops of a vast desert, these burial chambers seem to blend seamlessly with nature. Again, this is 2 sentences. Here's one simple sentence, and then we're going to start the second sentence here, so you need something strong, so it needs to be A. None of these others is going to do the job. Built into the rocky outcrops of a vast desert, that is just an intro clause for the second part. All right. All right, this looks like a positive. I'm going to start... this is one long sentence. In 1937, Chinese-American screen actor Anna May Wong, who had portrayed numerous villains and secondary characters but never a heroine, finally got a starring role in Paramount Pictures' Daughter of Shanghai, a film that critic Stina Chin claims expanded the range of possibilities for Asian images on screen. They're trying to trick you here. We don't need commas around Stina Chin. It's got to be C. Though I do, we don't need the commas. We just need to. We just need her name. I want to kind of put a comma after claims, though. I'm not gonna have time, but I would mark that. I really want to put a comma there, but yeah, none of the other. There's no reason to put a comma after Chin. Yeah, I'm a little. I might get that one wrong. Let's see. Okay, the Arctic Alpine Botanic Garden in Norway and the Jardim Botanico of Rio de Janeiro in Brazil are 2 of the many botanical gardens around the world dedicated to growing diverse plant species, both native and non-native, fostering scientific research and educating. Okay, so they're using the semicolon in a way that's very unusual. They're using it as a list, so it's a list of things. So it's a way, the world dedicated to growing diverse plant species, both native and non-native, fostering scientific research, that's part 2, and educating the public. So I need a semicolon at the end of this thing. So B. Yeah, good. Okay, thankfully a transition. Let's see if we can get this. Ooh, 3 minutes, 3 minutes. Okay. The Babylonian king Hammurabi achieved much during his 40-year reign. He conquered all of Mesopotamia and built Babylon into one of the most powerful cities of the ancient world. Today, he is mainly remembered for a code of laws inscribed on a 7-foot-tall block of stone, the Code of Hammurabi. So, today... all built Babylon. Ugh. However, I guess... I have no idea why, just because none of the others make sense. He is mainly remembered. He did this big thing, but he's remembered for something else. I guess it's a contrast. No time to check. In her poetry, she leaves two kind of personal stories with broader historical narrative. She places Thomas's journey from the American South to the Midwest in the early 1900s within the larger context of the Great Migration. Dove sets events from Balula's personal life against the backdrop. Specifically, okay. So she places Thomas's journey in the early 1900s with the greater, okay. But then it's switching to a different character, Balula. Similarly, it's got to be it's saying 2 things are the same. Ugh, these are hard. I wish I had more time for these. I've only got 2 minutes left. 2 more questions, though. When designing costumes for film, American artists, whatever, typically custom fits the garments to each actor. For the film Sunshine, in which the astronauts must reignite a dying sun, she designed a golden space and a factory reproduced it in a few standard sizes. Lacking a tailor-made quality, the final creations reflected the ungainliness of actual space shoots. This feels like a nevertheless. She's usually custom fitting it, but then she's doing something factory made. Nevertheless, for the film Yeah, so it's a contrast. All right, last one, 1 minute. The student wants to make and support a generalization about the orbits of comets. Generalization about the orbits of comets, make and support. Okay. Estimate that the number of comets orbiting the sun is in the billions. Okay. Many comets orbits change over time. Once laid between this. Okay. The comet's orbit is now positioned. Okay. Make and support or generalization about the orbit. Astronomers estimate that the number of comets orbiting the sun is in the billions. The comet's orbits may change over time. Okay, maybe that sounds like a generalization. It's not being supported, I guess. Like Uranus, Jupiter, and Mars, billions of comets orbit the sun. No, that seems random. One example of a comet in this is this, whose orbit around the sun once lay between Uranus's and Jupiter's orbits, but is now positioned between those of Jupiter's and Mars. Maybe a comet's orbit around the sun may change over time. The orbit of this one once lay between this. Yes, that is making a statement, and it is supporting it with a specific example. That is it. 30 seconds left. No real time to check. It is close. Reading is always close. So let me check them over and see if I got any wrong. It's definitely possible. I don't feel good about this, but I definitely feel like I at least got a good score. So even rushing, you can do pretty well. Let's see if I'm wrong. All right, I got every single question right. I am really proud of this. There were a couple where I was unsure, but all of these are correct. Now, the vocab, that was, you got to start strong with the vocab. So if you do these practice tests and you feel like you're running out of time, it might be because you're starting off on the wrong foot. You cannot get these vocab questions wrong, and you cannot take a long time to get them right. So you need to really be confident with what these words mean. Notice there's a lot of tricky words in here, right? That one maybe not so much, but this one, certainly this one, verisimilitude, profusion, paucity, these are all tough words, but I know them because this is what my job is. I study SATs and I learn SAT vocab words, and this is the kind of stuff, these kinds of words are the ones that I had to study when I took the SAT back in 2005, okay? The most recent version of the SAT did not have a big emphasis on these difficult vocabulary words. That's coming back. And I think it's a good thing that it's coming back, but it means you're gonna need to study these words, especially if English is not your first language. You're going to need to just go through flashcards. I will make resources and videos to help you, but it's gonna take time. And you really, if you're going for those top scores, you need to be able to nail these questions and nail them quickly so that when you get to this stuff, you've got plenty of time. The passage questions, that was number 5 to I think number 16, so only about 10 questions, took me 20 minutes. That's a long time, and maybe with more practice I'll get better and faster, but this was tough. So in a lot of cases I didn't really have any doubt. This one I was a little unsure of, but thankfully, I was able to focus on the right word. She's tranquil, but she wants to quit. So there's that word tranquil. Again, a vocab word really tells me that she is calm. So it's not a coincidence that matches up, and it's because of one word that I knew really comfortably. Moving here, yep, that was okay. A little bit of showing my work here. Understanding how these traps work really helps me because all these other answers for like a number 8 seem to relate to other sentences in this passage, but because I understood the question, I knew that they were trap answers, so I was able to focus on the right thing. This one, I'm glad I did this way by going backwards. This one, a little annoying, these table ones. This one I was unsure of, but I guess because I understand what they're going for, I kind of knew how this question was going to go. They're trying to say that these mosasaurs are special, and unless you can say in the choice that they're special too, you're not matching that idea. So it's kind of knowing that what they're trying to say, they're not coming out and saying it in a very direct way. They're using this kind of scientific language, but I'm able to do it really fast. I would also say, just looking at this one, notice, again, there's lots of words that I was skipping over in a lot of these questions. I almost never read people's names. I almost never read like weird sciencey words because they don't matter. And I'm not gonna try to, like, my understanding of this right answer has nothing to do with Selena Suarez, Alberto Perez Huerta, and T. Lynn Harold Jr. I could not care less. It could be thing 1, thing 2, and thing 3, and it would not affect my way of thinking about the question. It's just random words to try to trip you up. You have to know how to skip that. Even the words like late Cretaceous and oxygen-18 isotopes. I knew this stuff was not going to matter because it's not a science test. It's a reading test. And so you're not trying to absorb all these facts. You're trying to understand why the facts support a larger point. The larger point is what you need to be able to focus on to go quickly here. Yeah, this one, looked at the graph. I'm just seeing if there's anything else I want to share with you guys. This one is really important because this was the only question that had the word weaken in the question. Most of the time they say support it, right? What follows from the text? What supports it? So you got to pay attention. Always go to the question first, see if they're asking something weird, and maybe highlight it so you don't forget. Yeah, this one felt good. This one felt good. I was just going very stupidly here. They're talking about the control. I just went with that. This one, kind of summarized it. Then we get into the grammar, and here the most common rule is sentence structure. So I was definitely using that to my kind of advantage here. I knew that most of the questions would be about where do sentences begin or end. So as I was reading these passages, I was thinking like, okay, have I gotten to my idea yet? Would I end it here? If I keep going, do I notice another sentence kind of pop up? And because they're changing the punctuation, I don't know yet when I'm doing it whether or not it should be 2 sentences or 1. You kind of have to figure that out. But because that's on my mind, I'm able to kind of think in those terms more clearly. Most of the questions were about that. This one was tense. This one was, again, sentence structure. This one was singular versus plural. This one was sentence structure. This one was a little sentence structure, some sneaky things here. This is the only grammar question I felt a little unsure of, but I guess the comma after claims is not necessary because we're just kind of going right into our quote. But I know that they're going to do this. I'll give you guys a lesson at some point on appositives and how they deal with this. A lot of you, if you got this wrong, probably picked something like A or B because you see that name and you really want to put commas around it, but it's a trap. It's not always the case that we need those commas. This one I knew was about sentence structure. These were tricky too. Yeah. I had to really think fast here. I felt that clock bearing down on me. And this one, for any of these outline questions, the reason you're able to get these right is because you read the question and understand what they're asking. This is not an opinion question. It is not, what would you say? They've asked for something specific and you have to give it to them. Again, I was expecting to get something wrong. I am very proud of myself for having gotten this right. And I take SATs. I've been doing now 3 different versions of the SAT that I've been teaching. There's 4 different versions that I've personally taken sample tests of. So I'm very well versed in what the SAT does. And yet, even still, with reading, I know that there's some room for error, that I kind of make mistakes occasionally. The timing is difficult for me, but I've gotten so comfortable with it that I know when I'm at least placing a really solid bet. And I think that that's how you have to think about a lot of these really hard reading questions is you want to have the tools to place a strong bet. You might still be wrong, but if you can get it down to 2 choices, you have to think of it that way, that you're increasing your odds. But the most important thing for this hard section, I think, is going to be time. You are not going to have the time to really dive into each question and analyze it in a very deep way, like you might want to do for a poem in school. You have to be able to move on. When you've gotten your confidence to 70%, there were definitely questions where I was maybe 70, 80% sure, and I knew that there was a possibility I'd be wrong, but I didn't have the time to worry about that other 30 or 20%. I had to move on because it's much better to be 70% sure on 10 questions than to lose all of the points on those 10 questions because you have no time to actually look at them and answer them, especially because these last few are fast and relatively easy. Grammar rules, these outlines, transitions, you don't want the passages to suck up your time. I don't know enough about how these sections are scored yet. They haven't released enough information, so I don't know if it makes sense to skip the passage questions at first. You might be able to do that and gain the same scores if you had tried them, but I don't know. They might be worth more. We're not really sure yet what's going on. So as soon as I have that information, I will share it with you. So please make sure you subscribe, and I will continue to make videos for all the new materials as they're released. All right, I've got 35 minutes on the clock. I'm going to hit start, ready, set, go. Okay, first question, really easy. I don't even need to show work. X plus 7, what is the value of, well, that would be 7 plus 20 is 27. Nice and easy, choice C. Okay, question 2. The lists give the values in datasets X and Y. Which statement correctly compares the mean of dataset X and the mean of dataset Y? Okay, well, this is an easy question. It's number 2. I'm not going to have to do a lot of calculating here. We can see that these sets are almost identical, except dataset Y has the number 27, so that's going to be a higher mean because it has this high number in it. So I don't actually need to calculate anything here. Don't waste your time. So the mean of dataset X is greater than the mean of dataset Y? No. The mean of data set X is less than the mean of data set Y. That's probably it, but let's make sure. The means of the two are equal. There's not enough information. So we are. Just remember, mean is average, right? So you're summing in an extra number, so it's going to get higher. And you can cross out answer choices on the math section the same as you can on the reading and writing, so there's no reason not to do that. Okay, so there you go. Choice B. Question 3. Right triangles PQR and STU are similar, where P corresponds to S. Okay, that looks like that. If the measure of angle Q is 18, what is the measure of angle S? So Q and T are going to be the same. So what we're really trying to find is P. Now remember, you can't draw on the picture, so my temptation is to draw there, but I can't. So on my scrap paper, what I'd honestly do is just redraw it and then put 18 is up here, that's Q, and P and S are down here. And so that's just going to be 90 minus 18, and that is going to be 80, and then 82. Nope. Ooh, careful, 72. This is why, you know what? Use the calculator. You've got it. 90 minus 18 is 72, and there you go. All right. Good. Feeling good about that one? Let's move on. A rocket contained 467,000 kilograms of propellant before launch. Exactly 21 seconds after launch, that amount of this propellant remained. On average, approximately how much propellant in kilograms did the rocket burn each second after launch? So you could do this as a linear equation, but there's really no reason to, right? So just do 467,000 minus 362,105. That's going to be some number. So 467, using the hard calculator, 1, 2, 3, minus 362,105 is 104,895. And that's 21 seconds after launch. So how much did it burn each second? So now we would just divide this by 21. Do that in my calculator as well, using the calculator. And I get 4,995. Is that an answer? A? Yeah, cool. Seems good to me. Let's move on. Okay, the solution to the given system is x, y. What is the value of x plus y? I think I'd use Desmos here. This is new for me. Normally I would solve this stuff algebraically, but it seems like Desmos lets us do it. Oh, do I need Wi-Fi here? Let's see what happens. Okay. 4x equals 20. Back. Equals 20. And then negative 3x plus y equals negative 7. Okay, so it's graphing it, and you can see there's my point of intersection is 5, 8. So what is the value of x plus y? That'd be 5 plus 8 is 13. So C. So now, normally I would do this algebraically if this were the old test, but it doesn't seem like I need to. So, I don't know. Seems good to me. You're just graphing it, seeing where they intersect. Cool. Let's move on. Question 6 right here. A certain apprentice is enrolled in 85 hours of training courses. The equation of that represents the situation where X is the number of on-site training courses and Y is the number of online training courses. How many more hours does each online training course take than each on-site training course? Okay. Well, if X is the number of on-site training courses, and the 85 is the total number of hours, and that must mean the 10 and the 15 are the hours per course, right? So I guess how many more hours is each online training course? Just 5. Just 5, right? The difference between, it would be 15 minus 10 is 5. So I guess that's it. Now, normally that seems a little too easy, but it's question number 6 out of 22, so I don't know. Seems good. All right, we are at 30 minutes, so 5 minutes have passed, and I've done 6 questions. So we're at a good pace here. Square x has a side length of 12 centimeters, so square x has 12 centimeters. The perimeter of square y is 2 times the perimeter of square x. So this thing has a perimeter of 48, right? 12 times 4, there's all the same side. And so that's square x. Square y has a perimeter then of twice that, so 48 times 2 is 96, I believe, yes. Okay, what is the length of one side of square y? So now we're just dividing that by 4 because that's what a perimeter is, it's all the sides added up, so 96 divided by 4 is 24, so there you go. And that makes sense, if you're doubling the perimeter, it's because you're doubling all the sides. Yeah, cool. The given function g models the number of gallons of gasoline that remains from a full gas tank in a car after driving m miles. According to this model, about how many gallons of gasoline are used to drive each mile? Okay, let me just make sure I got that. So if this is a linear equation, then the 12.1 would be the starting point. So that's the number of gallons in the tank. So that's not right. And then how many would be used to drive each mile? I guess it's 0.05 because you're multiplying that by the number of miles, and that's in the position of the slope, right? So that's a rate, and that's what it sounds like in the question, right? Each mile sounds like a rate, and so this would be a rate as well. Okay. If the absolute value of 4x minus 4 equals 112, what is the positive value of x minus 1? Okay. So this feels like a Desmos situation. Let's give it a shot. Clear, and we've got, how do you do absolute value? Here you go. Absolute value of 4x minus 4, x minus 4 equals 112. Oop, man, this thing stinks. 112. Okay, so I don't see anything. Let's find it. There it is. So the answers now, so this is really weird because since there's only one variable, when I graph this thing, I'm basically just going to get vertical lines. So these two vertical lines represent my values, and normally I'm supposed to be able to click them, and I can't get it to work. Come on. All right, can I do a table? Nope. Nope. See, normally you can click it. I can't get it. All right, so that's just 27, right? 27, or negative 27, I should say. And then if I scroll over, it's positive 29. Okay, so what is the value? What is the positive value of x minus 1? So if those are values of x, this is a confusing way to do this. Maybe this was the wrong way to handle this. So 4 times 29, well, that's the value of x, so I guess I just need to do x minus 1, so 28, right? 29 minus 1 would be 28. That feels like the answer. I see, this is why the calculator can be sometimes tricky, is like, I think I know what's going on here, because it's basically solving the equation for me, and it's giving me those two green vertical lines as the answers, but if I just divided 4x minus 4 by 4, I would get x minus 1 equals 28. So yeah, x minus 1 would be 28. Yeah, that's it. That's the answer. Okay, how are we doing on time? 26 minutes left. Okay. The given equation relates the positive numbers b, x, and y. Which equation correctly expresses x in terms of b and y? So x, I'm solving for x. So 1 over 7b is equal to 11x over y. So we're solving for x. So I would get multiply y on both sides. So that's going to be that y over 7b is equal to 11x. Then I think of this as multiplying by 1 over 11, which is the same as dividing by it, but it makes it easier on this side to do it, because now I have 7 times 11 is 77. So x is equal to y over 77b. Is that an answer? Yes, choice C. Good. All right, 11. The table shows 4 values of x. Okay, there's a linear relationship. Okay, where m is a constant. What is the value of m? So what is the slope? This is easy. Here, I guess I could just plug points into equations. So why don't we do the first point? So 82 is my y, is equal to m times 10 minus 28. So we add 28 to both sides, and that would be 110, I believe. I'm going to do it just to make sure in my normal calculator. So 82 plus 28 is 110. And then if you divide by 10, that gets a value of 11. Does that make sense? Let's see. If I did the 137 minus or plus 28 divided by 15 is also 11. So there you go. Good there. Plug points into equations. You could find this in other ways, but I would say if you can plug points into equations, that's your best bet. Okay, the given expression is equivalent to bx cubed minus 11, where b is a constant. What is the value of b? So this is just a combined like terms situation. So make sure that you distribute that negative. So depending on how careful you are on your scrap, you might want to just write out exactly what they give you. I think that's probably a good habit to get in, is write it out exactly So that way there's no chance of you kind of doing the arithmetic wrong by writing out the first step rather than just the original. So here, if I wrote it out exactly, now I can feel confident distributing this negative. So 5x cubed minus 3 plus 4x cubed minus 8, right? So there's my minus 11 right there. And so that should be 9x cubed. So 9 is the value of b, because that's supposed to be bx cubed minus 11. Okay, cool. This seems pretty easy so far. We're halfway through, a little over halfway through, and I still feel like we're dealing with some pretty basic algebra stuff here that everyone should know for the SAT regardless. So let's see. The point x53 is a solution. Which of the following could be the value of x? Okay. So I guess I can just plug 53 in for y, right? Plug points into equations. Let's see what happens. So that's going to be 4x. The first equation doesn't matter. 53 is greater than 14, so that's okay. 4x plus 53 is less than 18. So subtract 53 from both sides. We get 18 minus 53. Normal calculator is negative 35, and that's greater than 4x. So now we divide by 4, and we're going to get x is less than negative 8.75. So it's less than negative 8.75, so the only one that is less than negative 8.75 is negative 9. So it's got to be it. Plug points into equations. Okay. Bacteria are growing in a liquid growth medium. There were 300,000 cells per milliliter during an initial observation. The number of cells per milliliter doubles every 3 hours. This is exponential. How many cells per milliliter would be 15 hours after the initial? Okay. Ooh, all right, so exponential, I'm going to use my open formula. Let's actually do O, 1 plus or minus P to the T is equal to N. So the O stands for the original. We were told the initial observation is 300,000, so that's going to go in that spot. If it's doubling, it's increasing by 100%. So this is going to be a 1 plus 1. Maybe some of you would be more comfortable just saying that the percentage or the change, that number in parentheses is 2, so you can do that as well. And then T is, okay. It's every 15 hours, or sorry, it's every 3 hours that it doubles. So there's only going to be 5 intervals where it doubles. So I am doing 2 to the 5th, 2 to the 5th, normal calculator, 2 to the 5th is 32. So that's 300,000 times 32, which is 9,600,000. So 9,600,000. So here's just to point this out, if I had made the mistake I initially felt myself making, which was just putting the exponent as 15, I would have gotten a number that's so crazy that it doesn't appear here. So it just would have been huge, so that I would have been able to kind of notice my mistake. But there is a little bit of a trap there that could throw someone off. So yeah, it's when that value for the t, the value for the exponent has to be how many intervals there are. So there's a 3 hour, it's an interval of 3 hours, but there's 5 of them because it's 15 hours total. Yeah, that should be right. I think so. 15 hours, yeah. Okay. All right, what do we got here? The graph estimated the number of catalogs in thousands, company okay, blah, 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 1992. Which statement is the best interpretation of the y-intercept in this context? Well, y-intercepts are always starting points, so I'm looking for something that sounds like a starting point. The estimated number of catalogs the company sent to its customers during the first 10 years? No, that doesn't sound like a starting point. The estimated total number of catalogs the company sent to its customers from the end of 1992 to the end. No, yeah, that's not a starting point. It's going over an interval. C, the estimated number of catalogs the company sent to its customers at the end of 1992 is 9. Well, 9 doesn't make any sense because it's in thousands according to the question. So it's got to be D. The estimated number of catalogs the company sent to its customers at the end of 1992 was 9,000. Yeah. So basically, yeah, anytime there's a y-intercept, doesn't matter what the graph is, it's almost always a starting point, and the starting point is 1992 is the starting year, so 9,000 seems right. Okay. Which expression is equivalent to this where x and y are positive? Okay. So that's x to the 9th, y to the 9th, to the 1/7, right? Because that's what it means to take a root. So when you raise a power to a power, you multiply the powers. So that's x to the 9/7 and y to the 9/7. And b is the same thing because now you're just taking the 9/7 out. So b is the answer. The population of city A increased by 7% from 2015 to 2016. The 2016 population is K times the 2015 population. What is the value of K? Okay. Okay, I think I've got this, but I'm going to use my open formula here again. This time there's no exponent because it's only happening once, but it kind of looks like this. So the original, the population of A, so I'm just going to put A in there for now. The increase is 7%, so that's 1 plus 0.07. And the new value is 2016, so that's going to be K times the 2015 population, so that's KA. Right? The original amount times some value K. So you can see that the K isn't, the A is not going to really matter. If I simplify the left side, this is 1.07A is KA, so the K is the 1.07. Some of you might have just been able to intuitively grasp that, but anytime I see percentages, I'm nervous. And I've got 18 minutes left, and we've only got 5 questions left. So I'm going to take my time and make sure I don't make mistakes. Okay. Which of the following systems of linear equations has no solution? Okay, so when do they have no solution? I might write this down to keep myself kind of focused. That's when they're parallel, and that means that they have the same slope. So A is weird. That's a horizontal or a vertical line for x equals 3 and a horizontal line for y equals 5. Now you could graph these if you wanted to, but that's time consuming. B, these have different slopes, 6 and 5. C, they have the same slope. D, y equals 5 does not have any slope. That's a slope of 0, so that's a horizontal line again, so that doesn't make sense, so C is the answer. So you could definitely graph this, but if you're moving as fast as I am and you have the time, it's probably because you know what you're doing and you don't need to graph it. So this is something to just memorize. No solution is parallel lines, and parallel lines have the same slope. Cool. Hopefully I'm not making any mistakes. I feel like maybe I'm going a little fast, but I don't know. This seems easy. The first term of a sequence is 9. Each term after the first is 4 times the preceding term. If W represents the nth term of the sequence, which equation gives W? Okay, this is an arithmetize question. Arithmetize. I am not going to think about this conceptually. I'm going to actually do it, right? The first term in a sequence is 9. Each term after is 4 times the preceding term. So the next term is 4 times 9, which is 36. And then using my normal calculator, I can do 4 times 36. To get 144. So the first 3 terms are 9, 36, and 144. So let's treat W and N like they're points, right? W represents the nth term. So 1 point, I could just do the starting point. The first term, so let's do NW like this, so it kind of matches XY. So the first term is 9. So let's just see if that works. Plug points into equations, okay? So scrap paper, I'm going to have to do it on the scrap. So 9 is equal to 4 times 9 to the first. That's not true, so A is wrong. B. B. 9 is equal to 4 times 9 to the 1 minus 1 is 0. So 9 to the 0 is 1, so this is 9 equals 4. So that doesn't work. Let's try C. 9 is equal to 9 times 4 to the first. Well, 4 to the first times 9 is 36. So that doesn't make sense either, so it's got to be D. And that is 9 is equal to 9 times 4 to the 1 minus 1 is 0. So that does work. 4 to the 0 is 1. 1 times 9 is 9. So boom, that is the answer. Now look, you may be able to get that thinking about it just logically and understanding how these sequences work, but you're at number 19 out of 22 questions. You know this is where they put trap answers, so you've got to make sure that you're actually thinking about it correctly. Your logic can feel really, really good, but it needs to be provable to be something that you can rely on. And if you've got the time, I've got 15 minutes left. If you've got the time, you've got to take it. Just make sure that you show this kind of work. This is exactly where traps appear. There is no reason I would have used purely logic to do this. And if multiple answers worked, I could have tried one of my other points, but didn't need to. All right. All right, the minimum value of x is 12 less than 6 times another number n. Jeez, okay. Which inequality shows the possible values of x? This feels like an arithmetize too. This is very confusing. The minimum value of x is 12 less than 6 times the number n. So why don't we just do n is 1. Okay, so 6 times 1 is 6, And 12 less than that would be negative 6. 6 times 1 is 6. 12 less than 6 is negative 6. So the minimum value of x is negative 6. Okay, so let's just see if that works in any of these equations. Negative 6 is less than or equal to 6 times 1 minus 12. Well, that's true. Negative 6 is greater than or equal to 6 minus 12, so that's true. The equal to is going to cause a problem. Negative 6 is less than or equal to 12 minus 6. That's not true. 12 minus 6 is positive 6. So negative 6 is not less than positive 6. That's gone. And then negative 6, this is D, negative 6 is greater than or equal to 12 minus 6. And so that does work. 12 minus 6 is 6. No, wait. Sorry, I'm confusing it. This is true. This is false. Because here we have negative 6 is less than or equal to positive 6. That's true. Here we have negative 6 is greater than or equal to 6, and that's not true. So I can only get rid of one answer choice with those numbers. I guess I could pick something else, but now I'm wondering if perhaps the inequality is going to be the main thing here. We'll just pick a new number for a second. Let's do something else. Let's do n equals 4. Let's just kind of change it up. So if n is 4, 6 times 4 is 24, and 12 less than 6 times 4 would be 12. So x, the minimum of x, would be 12. So what's left? Choice A would be 12 is less than or equal to 6 times 4 is 24, minus 12. I don't love that 24 and 12 are like kind of going together. I guess it's fine. 12 is, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess I don't have a choice here. Let's just keep going. 12 is greater than or equal to 24 minus 12, so that's going to also work because of the greater thans and the equal to's. That's choice B. And then C, 12 is less than or equal to 12 minus 24, so that's not true. 12 is not less than negative 12. Yes. Okay. So this is going to involve, I could use some logic here and get this, but I would still want to really prove my answer using numbers. Now the key word here, obviously, since it's inequality, is minimum. It's a minimum value. So the minimum value is x. So basically I could have it also be true that x is equal to 11. X is equal to 13, right? Because if the minimum is 12, I could have a bigger number. So I could also try choices A and B, running out of space. I could try choices A and B using the 13 instead, right? So that actually would just slip right in here. This would be 13, this would be 13. Now, is that true? So this would be 13 is less than or equal to 12. That's not true. This would be 13 is greater than or equal to 12. That is true. So I think B is the answer. Let me now think about it logically and see if it makes sense. Okay, it's 12 less than 6 times a number, so that's 6n minus 12. That makes sense. And the minimum value would mean that x has to be greater than that value. So yeah, B makes sense. I still love the arithmetize. I still love being able to see it. It really helps me. And again, I've got time. I've got 10 minutes left here for now 2 questions. Okay. The side lengths of right triangle RST are given. Triangle RST is similar. Okay. What is the value of tan? Okay, so this is going to require me to draw a triangle. So, okay. The big side is TR, so we should do that. TR. And this is going to be a little off, but that's okay. S, so RS is 20, TR is 52, that's the right triangle, and ST is 48. And then UVW, S corresponds to V, T corresponds to W, and that means R must be, what's left? U? Yeah. Okay, tan of W, so W's up here, and tan is the SOHCAHTOA. It's the T part. So that's opposite over adjacent. So the opposite is 20, and the adjacent is 48. And I have to reduce that. Both are divisible by 4, so that's going to be 5 over 12, B. Cool. All right, the graph of 9x minus 10y equals 19 is translated down for units in the xy plane. What is the x-coordinate of the x-intercept in the resulting graph? Okay. How would I do this? I guess we can just graph it using Desmos. Let's clear out what we've done before. So this is going to actually look like a line. 9x minus 10. What the heck? Here we go. 10y is equal to 19. Okay. Gotta get my scale back. There we go. Okay. So I have to translate it 4 units down. So they want the x-intercept. So it's going to be, okay. How can I do this? How can I show this easily? Honestly, I guess the best way to do this is y equals mx plus b here. Yeah, there might be a way to use this equation, but I feel so much more comfortable when I have y equals mx plus b. So I guess I'll do that, at least to start. So I have 9x minus 10y is 19. I would subtract 9x from both sides. I would get negative 10y is equal to negative 9x plus 19. And then I would divide both sides by negative 10. So I get y is equal to 9/10 x minus 19 over 10. Now 4 units down means that my y-intercept is going to go down 4. So the slope will be the same, so that's not going to change the m. It's this 19 over 10. Which maybe makes more sense as a decimal. So 0.9x minus 1.9. So now when I translate it down 4, y becomes 0.9x minus 5.9. Here's what I would do. I'm going to just graph that because I want to see it to make sure I did this right. Y equals 0.9x minus 5.9. Yeah, look at that. It goes from roughly negative 2-ish to roughly negative 6, right? It's not perfect. I can see that it's a little off, but that's about 4. So this looks good. Same slope, everything looks good. So I want the x-intercept, so I can just kind of find it now. It's here. 6.556. Ugh, I don't like that that's a decimal. I guess that's probably right. 6.556. So what is the coordinate of the x-intercept? Let's see if I can do this algebraically. That's going to have a y-coordinate of 0. So looking here, that would be 0 is equal to 0.9x minus 5.9. Add that to both sides. 5.9 is equal to 0.9x. Divide both by 0.9. And we get x is equal to, regular calculator now, 5.9 divided by 0.9. Yeah, see, it's a messy number. This is where these stupid instructions come in. My advice here is if you get a messy decimal, try to bubble it as a fraction. So I think it's just less risky because they want me to fill out the whole thing. I feel really nervous when I have this. So my instinct is to get this back to a fraction. Now, because I know how the calculator works, I can turn this, I believe, into a fraction using some buttons. I'm going to do it that way first, see if it actually does what I want it to do. So I would do this button. Nope, nope. Second answer is this. They're giving me 6 I hate how this stupid calculator works. It's probably a setting. 6 5/9, which then I can maybe calculate back this way. Yeah, 59/9. I'm going to bubble that. And look, that's kind of obvious, right? Because if I multiplied both of these by 10, that would be 59/9. I'm going to bubble that. So this is some version of the correct answer. But I would actually bubble it as 59/9. I just feel more comfortable. They give us instructions here about, you can't see it, I kind of cut it off, but they give us instructions about how to do 2/3. And what they're saying with this kind of right-hand column is you can't just cut the decimal if it's a repeating decimal. You can't just cut it off wherever you want. You have to use all the spaces. But it still makes me nervous. I don't know why. It's something about it just bothers me. So I'd rather bubble it as 2/3, which they do say is acceptable. So you don't want to lose points for something like that. That's why I defer to the fraction. It's just safer. So that's it. That's the whole section. I still have 3 minutes, and I definitely took my time here to explain some things at the end. I'm going to cut it off here. If I had 3 minutes on the real test, I would definitely go and check my work. There are a couple that I feel like maybe I possibly made a mistake, but I'm going to grade it now, and stay tuned. I will tell you if I got any wrong, and I will give you some last-minute feedback and analysis. Okay, so I got everything right. I was not expecting to make any mistakes. Normally on the old version of the math SAT, I would get everything right every time. Here I expect kind of the same, maybe not in the hard module, which would come next, because if you get everything right, you're going to the hard module. There is some sort of window. If you get a couple wrong, you'll still go to the hard module for the second module, but I don't know what that cutoff is. So my general analysis here is that you want to be able to be very confident in this first section. If you're not confident in the first module, odds are good you're not going to get into the hard one for the second one. You're going to make enough mistakes or run out of time and have problems. So notice I was able to do a lot of this because I had memorized the right information. Even if you luck into the hard module for the second one, if you weren't confident here, you're going to have a lot of trouble. I've seen some of these hard modules. I haven't seen the one for this test, but they're hard. There's a lot of some tricks in there. There's some difficult questions. They're hard to think about. There's some stuff that's really difficult that you need to memorize. So if you're not confident with this, which I would mostly consider basic algebra, basic geometry, you're gonna have a lot of trouble when you get to that hard module. So make sure you study. All right, I've got 35 minutes on the clock. I'm gonna keep track of it here. I'll try to update you as I go through with how much time I have left. So here we go, 3, 2, 1, begin. All right, so first question. There are 55 students in Spanish Club. A sample of the Spanish Club students was selected at random and asked whether they intended to enroll in a youth study program. Of those surveyed, 20% responded they intended to enroll in the study program. Based on the survey, which of the following is the best estimate of the total number of Spanish Club students who intend to enroll in this study program? Okay, so it's just 20% of 55. So I'm going to use my open formula, and I'm going to do 55 and 0.20. And so let's just use my normal calculator. 55 times 0.2 is 11. I think that's it. So A should be my answer. Am I missing anything here? That seems too easy. 55 students, 20% they intend to enroll. Estimates in the number who intend to enroll. Yeah, first question should be easy, so that seems good. Okay, next. A machine makes large boxes or small boxes one at a time for a total of 700 minutes each day. It takes the machine 10 minutes to make a large box or 5 minutes to make a small box. Which equation represents the possible number of large boxes X and the small boxes Y the machine can make each day? So, okay, first and foremost, let's make sure we match the thing with the right variable. So X, large boxes is X, and so 10 minutes per large box. So the 10 is a rate that has to go with the X, so that's going to happen in B. So that means A is not right. That's got the wrong values. Okay, why would we do factoring here or multiplying? What the heck is going on there? Total of 700 minutes. So 10 minutes per box. Yeah, should just be B. This is basic linear equation. Okay, nothing crazy here. All right. I don't know why they got C and D. That makes no sense. Yeah. All right, number 3. Scatter plot shows relationship. Okay, which of the following best represents the line of best fit? Okay, so these are y equals mx plus b, but they are written kind of backwards. So let's start with the y-intercept. The y-intercept is the 13.5, so that's going to get rid of choices C and D. That's a negative y-intercept. And this is a negative slope, so we need a negative slope, so that's going to be choice B. Nothing really to do here. Could plug points in equations, but don't need to. All right, question 4. The point with coordinates D4 lies on the line shown. What is the value of D? Okay, so the x coordinate that has a y coordinate of 4. Okay. Well, I can't draw on the graph. This is what makes this annoying on the new test. So I'm gonna have to trace it with my eyes here. So 4 on the y kind of is 3 and change for the x. So let's see. 7 halves, again, I can't write on this. I'm gonna have to, this is what I put in my scrap. 7 halves is 3.5. B, 26 sevenths. 26 divided by 7. Oh boy, this is gonna be annoying. It's 3.7. Okay, so I'm not gonna be able to eyeball this, I don't think. All right, so let's do it the old-fashioned way. Let's make a y equals mx plus b equation. We can see that b is going to be 7. It's a negative slope, and I can calculate it by just plugging in. Let's plug in the x-intercept. So 8 is my x, m is unknown, and y is 0. So we would solve by subtracting 7. So negative 7 equals m, or 8m, divide by that. So m is equal to negative 7/8. So now I have y equals mx plus b. I'm going to have to do this in an annoying way. Let's make this nice and thick. So y equals negative 7/8 m plus 7. And we're looking for 4 is y. So 4 is equal to negative 7/8 m, or x. X is d now, plus 7. So we subtract 7 from each side, so that's negative 3 is equal to negative 7/8 d. Multiply both sides by negative 8/7. That's the reciprocal, negative 8/7. So that should be 24/7. Oof. I would come back to this one. Let's see. I like it. I feel like that's the answer. 24/7, just to test on my calculator, is 3.4. So that seems to make sense with what I'm looking at here. But yeah, that feels like a really rushed, very difficult calculation for such an easy question for number 4. That seems too hard for something this early in the test, so I'd come back to that, but let's move on for now. Okay, quadratic table shows 3 values, and okay, this is a plug points into equations question. Plug points into equations. Okay, so they all have the same y-intercept, so that checks out. So that covers the 0 point. So let's just do the 1 point, 120. So again, I can't draw on these things. So on your scrap paper, be organized. Choice A would be 3 plus 3 plus 14. That's 20, so that checks out. B would be 5 plus 1 plus 14. Uh-oh, annoying. Okay, that checks out. C would be 9 minus 1 plus 14. 8 plus 14 is 22, so that's wrong, so that gets rid of C. And D, 1 plus 5 plus 14 is 20. So, of course, that's going to work on all of those. But that's okay. We have one more point. So let's do negative 1, negative 1. Okay. Ugh. All right, A. Okay, so that's 3 minus 3 plus 14. So that does not work. That's 14. It needs to be 10. So that gets rid of A. And B is 5 minus 1 plus 14, so that's 4 plus 14 is 18, so that's wrong. Uh-oh. And D is the only one left. Hopefully this works. 1 minus 5 plus 14, so negative 4 plus 14 is 10. Boom, done. Plug points into equations, my favorite strategy. Okay, the function f is defined by x plus 15 over 5, and f of a is 10, where a is a constant. What is the value of a? Okay, I'm just going to guess and check here. So A would be 5 plus 15 over 5. That's 20 over 5 is 4, so that's wrong. I guess let's jump a little bit higher. Let's do C maybe. 35 plus 15 over 5 is 50 over 5 is 10. Check. Done. Okay. Oop, come on, load. Okay, in the figure lines, okay, these are parallel. What is the value of z? Okay. Okay, so what is the relationship between x and y? They are equivalent. Those are vertical angles. So this is just straight up algebra here. So 6k plus 13 is equal to 8k minus 29. So minus 6 plus 29 plus 29. This goes, this goes. I could probably do this in my head, but why risk it? 13 plus 29 is 42. 42 is equal to 2k, so divide by 2, k is 21. But they don't want that, right? So be careful, this is a trap. They want the value of z, Z is not equivalent to X or Y, but I can get it. So let's just go back to X is 6 times 21 plus 13. So X is 6 times 21 is 126 plus 13 is 139. So Z is supplementary to that. So Z is 180 minus 139. I probably could have just figured this out through estimating, but it does not draw to scale, so maybe not. 139 is 41. Choice C. Oof. Careful choice B there, trap. All right, so I'm at 27 minutes left, and I'm already about a third of the way through the section, so this is pretty good timing here. Line P is defined by that, line R is perpendicular, so that means I need negative reciprocal slopes. So 2y plus 18x is 9, so 2y equals negative 18x plus 9, y is equal to negative 9x plus 9 halves, just dividing by 2. So I need a perpendicular slope, so this perpendicular slope, negative 9 is perpendicular to positive 1 over 9, negative reciprocal. So what is the slope of line R? It's 1/9. C. Okay, done. 9. Whew. Sample of oak has a density of 807 kilograms per cubic meter. The sample is in the shape of a cube where each edge has a length of 0.9 meters. To the nearest whole number, what is the mass in kilograms of the sample? Oh boy, okay. So you probably need to memorize this formula. Density is equal to mass over volume. A sample of oak has a density of 807 kilograms per cubic meter. The sample is in the shape of a cube where each edge has a length of 0.9. So volume of a cube is the edge cubed. So that's 0.90 cubed. So calculator 0.9 to the third is 0.729. So that's my 0.729 is my volume. And they want the mass. So now I just multiply both sides by 0.729. So times 807 is it kilograms? Kilograms? Are we good here with all the units? Meters? Kilograms? Okay. So I'm getting M is 588. Yeah, okay, cool. 25 minutes. Function P models the population. Okay, according to the model, the population is predicted to increase by n% every 18 months. What is the value of n? Okay. All right, B feels like a trap, right? So city T years after 2005. According to the model, the population is predicted to increase by n%. Okay, so let's just figure this out, right? So it's plug points into equations. So when t is 0, the starting point, this is just a property of exponentials, then p is 290, right? So if we put 0 in, everything's going to wash out, so that's fine. But 18 months would be, since t is in years, t would be 1.5, right? 12 months would be a year, plus 6 would be another half a year, so that's 1.5, right? So, okay, so then P of 1.5 is 290 times 1.04 to the 4/6 times 1.5. So this feels not a coincidence that would be 3 halves. Okay. Oh my gosh. So 4 times 1.5 is 6. Divided by 6 is 1. 290 times 1.04 to the first. Could this really be it? It's 4%. What is the value of n? Right? Let me think this through. This feels too easy. Did I make a mistake? Is this a trap? Right? So 4/6 is 2/3. Right? That's what that says. So 4/6 and then a year, 1.5. So that's going to cancel out. It's going to be 1, and so it's an increase of 4%. 1.04. Okay, I thought this was going to be trickier. I thought there was going to be a trap there. All right, it's fine. Load. Okay. K and n are constants, and n is greater than 1. The equation has no solutions. So this matters. No solutions. Okay, so that means the slopes are the same. Same slope, because these are lines. So the slope, oh my gosh, okay. Let's treat them as 2 separate lines. So 2kx distributing minus 2n. So y equals, and then this would be y equals negative 28/15 x minus 36/19. So k and n are constants, n is greater than 1. So this is the slope is 2k and negative 28/15. So these would have the same slope. So can I just do 2k is equal to negative 28/15? I think so. So multiply each side by 1/2 to get rid of the 2's. The 2 cancels out with this to make 14. So that's negative 14/15. Okay, I can bubble that. I can answer that. I hope that's right. I don't know why n being greater than 1 matters. Does that matter? No solution, same slope. Seems good. Let's move on. Load. Okay. 20 minutes left. Okay. A gift shop buys souvenirs at a wholesale price of $7 each and resells them at a retail price that is 290% of the wholesale price. At the end of the season, any remaining souvenirs are marked at a discounted price that is 80% off the retail price. What is the discounted price of each remaining souvenir in dollars? So can I just do this here? So retail price that is of, okay. That is 80% off, okay. This is two different open formulas. So the first one is the standard open formula. The original price is $7, and each resells them at a retail price that is 290% of the wholesale price. There's no percent increase. This is just 2.90 as a percentage, and that gets me a, what is that, a retail price of 2.9 times 7, which is $20.30. At the end of the season, any remaining souvenirs are marked at a discounted price that is 80% off the retail price. So this is where the trap comes in. So now my open formula is different. 1 minus P, this is a percent decrease. So the original now is $20.30, 1 minus, so 80% off means that this is $20.30 times 0.2 times 0.2 is $4.06. Yeah, 406. I think that's right. Let's move on. Okay. All right. Well, with 20 minutes left, I'm going to pause here and just reset my video so that I can make sure there's no errors. To be clear, I just reset it so that my technology worked. I've not looked at any questions. I've not checked any answers. So I've got 20 minutes and 11 seconds left. And remember, there are 22 questions in the section. So we're doing pretty good on pacing, but they will get harder. So I'm not really worried, but I got to still watch the clock. So here we go. Ready, set, resume. Okay, number 13. In the given equation, C is a constant. The equation has no real solutions. If C is greater than N, what is the least possible value of N? N, where's N? The equation has no real solutions if C is greater than N. I have no idea why that's phrased that way, but I know this is about the discriminant, which is B squared minus 4AC. And if there's no real solutions, then that has to be less than 0. So let's just plug in and see what happens. Okay, so B squared, negative 34 squared minus 4 times 1 times C is less than 0. So I guess they're just going to make me solve here. So 34 squared is 1156 minus 4C is less than 0. So let's move that over to get the C in a nice position here. So 1156 is less than 4C. Then divide both sides by 4. So divided by 4 is 289 is less than C, which is the same as saying C is greater than 289. And I was supposed to say that C is greater than N. So I guess what is the least possible value of N? Hold on, I got to be careful here. This inequality is messing me up. The equation has no real solution if C is greater than 289. Right? So isn't it just 289 the answer? Right? C is greater. Because we're not saying what is the least possible value of C. I think it's 289. I think that the inequality doesn't matter. I'm just matching things up. Let's just trust the process. And we'll come back to that one. I think that's right, though. Okay. All right, data set A consists of the heights of 75 buildings and has a mean of 32. Data set B consists of the heights of 50 buildings and has a mean of 62. Data set C consists of the height of 125 buildings. From data sets A and B, what is the mean in meters of data set C? Okay, so C is just a combination of A and B. So, okay, this is just average is sum over the number of numbers. So for A, the average is 32. And it's 75 buildings. So the sum is unknown. So we'll just multiply 32 times 75 and get that the sum is 2,400. So for data set B, the heights of 50 buildings and has a mean of 62. So 62 is 50. Okay, so that's another sum. Here the sum is 50 times 62. That's 3,100. So what do they want? The mean of data set C. So that's easy. Okay, C, we don't know the mean. That's what we're trying to find. So the average is the mystery. The sum is the sum of both of these together. So 2,400 plus 3,100 is 5,500. And now they said it's 125 buildings. So divided by 125 is 44. Cool, easy. Okay. All right. This expression, because a constant, can be rewritten as that, where h, k, and j are larger integer constants. Which of the following must be an integer? Okay. H, k, and j are integer constants. So what the heck is going on here? I guess h has to be 4, right? So we're just factoring. Why don't I just factor or FOIL this rather? So hk or hx plus k times x plus j would be, that's got to be a 4. So why don't I just do that substitution? 4x plus k times x plus j. Right, so that's 4x squared plus 4jx plus kx plus jk. So, which of the following must be an integer? What? Okay. I have no idea where this is going. There's got to be an easy way to think about this. Can I just assume that k and j are... Which of them must be an integer? Okay, well, let's see. I know h is 4. So 45 divided by 4 is not an integer. 45 divided by k, I don't know. If k and j are integers, then b, I got to combine these terms. So b is equal to 4j plus k. So b divided by h, can we divide that by 4? I don't think so. Because j and k, j times k together has to be negative 45. So the factors of negative 45, we got 9 and 5 and 3 and 3. So there's no 4 in there. So b over h, you can't, maybe you can divide that. 45 over k though, k has to be either 3 or 5 or 9 or 15 or 45. So yeah, 40, K, okay, yes. Because k, 45 divided by k has to be an integer, because k has to be an integer. It's got to be d. This is hard. I think it's d. I'm going to move on. I got 13 minutes left. I got slowed down with that question. Shoot, okay. Given the system, a is a positive constant. The system has exactly one distinct real solution. What is the value of a? Okay. Let's see. Can I just... can I graph this one? I haven't used the graphing calculator at all. So... let's see. I don't know. Y equals negative 1.5. God, I hate this calculator. 1.5. So that's okay. And then y equals x squared plus 8x plus, let's just keep it as a, okay, and add a slider. Positive constant. So can we just get this to have, it has to have one distinct solution. So can I just lower this until it works? Right, so can I do like 20? Okay. Okay. So how about that? What was that one? 14. What's 15? Nope. 14 something. Oh, gosh. Maybe this isn't going to work. Okay. Is 14.5 going to work? I'm kind of guessing and checking here. -4. Yeah, 14.5. That's the value of that. That is exactly one solution. So what is the real value of A? A is 14.5. I've got to come back to that. But yeah, I think I got it with the calculator. Okay, moving on. Load, 12 minutes. Come on. Okay. Which of the following compares the medians and ranges of A and B? So the data plot is A, B is created by adding 56 to each of the values in the data set. So the ranges will be the same, medians will be different. Median of B is equal to the median, no. Median of B is equal to the median of A, no. Median of B is greater than the median of A, that should be right. And the range of data of D is equal, that should be right. Median of B is greater than, and the range is greater than, no, because the range is just a maximum minus minimum, but those can be a difference of 4, so it's got to be C. Cool. All right. The rational function f is defined as an equation in the form of that, where a and b are constants. The partial graph of y equals a if fx is shown. Which of the following could define g? Okay. Oh my god, okay. Can I just plug points into equations here? F of x equals a over x plus b. Got 10 minutes left. Okay, here's a point. That point is -5, -6. That seems to work out nicely. So maybe we try that. Is defined by an equation in the form of a over x plus b, where a and b are constants. The partial graph is there. If g of x is equal to f of x plus 4, so it's going to shift it to the left. F of x plus 4, which line could be a function? Well, can I just plug this in? Can I just do f of x plus 4 is a over x plus 4 plus b? So I don't know what they want me to do here. This is a confusing one. Yeah, honestly, I would skip this if I were really taking the test. In the given equation, a and b are positive constants. The product of the solutions to the given equation is k, a, b, where k is a constant. What is the value of k? I know there's a formula for this. Of course, I don't know it. They're constants. The product of the solutions is KAB, where K is a constant. What is the value of K? So the product of the solutions, this is one of those formulas I don't remember. Can't we just say, if we factor this, we would get 57x and x, and then it's plus b. So this is plus a plus b, because a times b would be ab, 56b. Okay, so that works. So what are the solutions? The solutions are negative a over 57 and negative b. So the product, if you multiply these, is KAB. So the B goes, the B goes, the A goes, the A goes, so the negatives cancel. So it's 1 over 57. Hard. Mark for review. 9 minutes. Okay. Come on. Okay. This graph is a circle. What is the length of the circle's radius? All right. Oof. Okay. I think I can graph this. Okay. Let's see if this calculator is going to save me. I don't know. X squared plus x plus y squared plus y is equal to, plus y is equal to 199. Oh my God, these tiny buttons divided by 2. Okay, perfect. What is the length of the circle's radius? Okay, I can get these points, it looks like. Ooh, is that the center though? Ooh, it's shifted. It's shifted slightly. Okay, how can I do this? I can do distance between them, right? But those are, it looks like it's giving me the top. So that point is negative 0.5, 9.5, and this is negative 0.5, negative 10.5. So the distance seems to be, I think the calculator is just telling me this distance, right, is 9.5 plus 10.5. I should just be able to do that in my head, but we're getting to 7 minutes left, plus 10.5. 10.5 is 20. So what is the length of the radius? It should be 10, it should be half that. Okay, I'm gonna trust the calculator, but if I have more time, which I don't think I'm gonna have, I'd love to go back. Ooh, this is tight, this is really tight. Load, 2 identical rectangular prisms, each have a height of that. The base of each prism is a square, and the surface area of each prism is k centimeters squared. The prisms are glued together along a square base. The resulting prism has the surface area of that. Oh my God, okay. The 2 are each of a height of 90. So boom, 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 boom. Looks like this, and it's 90. The base of each prism is a square, and the surface area of each prism is k. So surface area is k. If the prisms are glued together along a square base, the resulting prism has a surface area of, okay, so that means I've got this and then another one. So that's 2 90s, right? So that's 90, so that's 180. If the prisms are glued together, the resulting prism has a surface area of that. What is the side length of each square base? The side length of each square base. So where x is this, right? So this surface area, okay, so the surface area of this thing would be 180 times x, which is the front and the back. So that's the front and the back, so that's times 2, plus the left and the right is, again, 2 times 180x plus x squared times 2, because the top and the bottom, and that is supposed to be 92 over 47. What is the side length? Okay, so we're just solving for x. I think the calculator can help me here. So 2 times 180, oh my God, this calculator, 180x plus 2 times 180x plus 2x squared is equal to 92 divided by 47. Damn it. That's the last thing I wanted. It looks like it's 0. Okay. Oh, wait. 0.003. Oh, no. That's not what it's supposed to be. That can't be right. So is it 16? Can I just guess and check? 2x squared, right? 90 centimeters. So we put them together along a square base. So that's 180. Glued together. So 180x. And there's 2 of those. 180x, there's 4. There's 92 over 47. What is the, okay. I don't know, I don't see why I can't guess and check. Let's just try 8. So 8 squared would be 64 on the top and the bottom. So is the surface area of 92/47. Why is there a fraction? What am I missing here? What is the side length? How is that a surface area of a fraction? Centimeters, a square, and the surface area of each prism is k. Oh, oh my God, 9247's K. Oh, shoot, that was a big omission there. Darn it, I'm gonna run out of time. Okay. So the surface area of this, oh, shoot, now I understand it. This is gonna be, again, the 2x squared. So 2x squared plus 180x for the front and the back. 180x is equal to K, so we can make a substitution here. Ah, darn it. So 360x plus 360x plus 2x squared is equal to 92/47 times 180 or 360x plus 2x squared. Darn it, I'm going to run out of time. I got 2.5 minutes. So that's 720x plus 2x squared. Let's times that by 47. Equals 92 times 360x plus 2x squared. I could definitely use the calculator here, but honestly, I don't trust it to enter it. 47 times 27. I definitely could have guessed and checked. 12,690 plus 47 times 2 is 94. X squared is equal to 92 times 360 is 33,120 plus 92 times 2 is 184x squared. So that's going to be 184 minus 90, 184 minus 92. Oh my God, I can't hit the buttons. 94 is 90x squared is equal to, oh, something's wrong. Something's wrong. Why do I have a negative? Something's wrong. All right, let's see if we can get 22. I'm at a minute and a half. And the xy planar parabola is vertex that and intersects the x-axis to 2 points. If the equation is the parabola, okay, which of the following could be the value of a plus b plus c? So it has, okay, can I just plug points into equations? Intersects the x-axis at 2 points. Yeah, wow, I am tight. I am tight on time here. Maybe I should try this one again. Two identical rectangular prisms, each of a height of 90 centimeters. Got to be a way to guess and check with this. So if it was 8, this would be 64. This would be 92. That would be 720. 720. So 720 times 4 plus 64 plus 64 is 3008, 30 seconds. So if we did the same thing, 64 plus, well, it's the same surface area almost. So 720 now times 8 plus 64 is 5888, right? And so 92 divided by 47 times 5888 is, lost it. It's a big number. Something's wrong here. All right, so time's up. All right, let's see. I'm going to pause here and think about what I want to do for the rest of this video. Okay, so my first piece of analysis is this was hard. Okay, this was very difficult. In the old SAT, I had no problem getting an 800 in math every single time with plenty of time to spare in each section. So I went through my answers and I put them into the Bluebook app in the College Board and scored everything. And just to tell you how it shook out for me this time, I got a 760 overall, which is still an awesome score, something to be proud of. But I had taken the Module 1 separately. There's a separate video for that. That I had gotten nothing wrong, and I had finished with plenty of time left over, about 3 minutes, and even that 3 minutes was me kind of trying to take more time to explain things. So the timing on Module 1 was very easy. This module, very different, right? So I only got 3 wrong, and they were 3 that I left blank in this case. So all the questions that I answered, I got right. So no mistakes. And if this were a real test, I would not have left those 3 questions blank. I would have picked a random letter, but for the sake of just kind of understanding it, I didn't want to do that here. So make sure you don't leave anything blank. Always pick a letter or bubble a random number. Just make sure everything has an answer. You don't lose points for guessing. So maybe I would have picked up another couple points just by lucky guessing, but 760 is still really great. And of the 3 questions I missed, like only one of them I have a little bit of a regret on. So I'm not going to go over every single one. So I'm not going to go over 22. That one was hard. Number 21, I never figured it out. Look at how much time I spent on this. I do regret spending this much time. I just got carried away in it, and I thought I had it. I misread the question, and honestly, this is a big warning, is that you gotta be really careful on these hard ones that you don't misread things, because I definitely wasted 5 minutes, or maybe not that, but like 3 minutes, because I misread it at first, and I either could have saved that time and done it right, or I could have used that time somewhere else. So be really careful. This is such a tight time crunch. Misreading something could really cost you. So I'm not gonna go over that one either. This one I got correct, and I used the calculator, and perfect. That was the right strategy. Definitely did that right. I'm glad that worked out. This one I also feel like I did the right way. It took some logical thinking, so that was the struggle, but I'm glad it worked out. Here is where I should have gotten an answer. So the green is the work. I did this after the fact to show you what I should do. Basically, my original hunch was correct. This is a plug points into equations question. And I thought that originally, but I was kind of hung up on the f of x. And I was like, oh, if I don't know that equation, then I'm not gonna be able to finish this. And so I was worried that finding the f of x equation would take a long time. But you don't actually need to know it. They give you the graph, and those are the collection of points. So that -5, -6 that's in red, that was the point that I noticed originally. Then when they talk about this, g of x is equal to f of x plus 4, that is telling me that the g of x graph is shifting to the left 4 units. So this point right here, -9, -6, is this -5, -6 shifted those 4 points. So without worrying about what f is, I could find a point that's supposed to be on the g graph. Then I can take that point and plug it into the 4g equations. That's what this work is here. And -9, -6 only fits in choice C, and that was the answer. And this work did not take me long. So in the moment, I maybe started panicking about time, and so I just didn't make a connection that I really wish I had made. So this feels like a missed opportunity for some points here. I definitely should have gone back to that one instead of dealing with this stupid prism one. So I regret that.
All right, so hopefully that helped. One big conclusion is, yes, I was still learning how to make videos when I made those ones. But another conclusion that I have now, in hindsight, years after taking that test for the first time, is that at the time I took it, I was still learning a lot about the digital SAT. We all were, because that test was released before the digital SAT was ever given in the United States. So let's talk about these results in more detail. The actual scores that I got on this test are 760 reading and 780 math. I don't know where that 760 came from. I don't know why I had 4 wrong. I must have entered something wrong, but if I missed something here, let me know. But specifically, I got number 26 wrong in module 1 of reading, and then 18, 21, and 22 wrong in the hard module of math. So this is unusual for me. This total score is a 1540. That's actually very, very low considering my expertise. Normally my average is about a 1590, 1580. And I do usually get something wrong somewhere, usually a hard reading passage I get wrong. But my scores are much higher because the test is usually more predictable. And now, as you will see if you watch my other walkthrough videos for the other tests, 5 through 10, I have a much better sense of what's going on. When I took this test for the first time, we had only 4 practice tests. This was number 4. Numbers 1, 2, and 3 have all been thrown away. They've been discontinued, retired, however you want to put it, because they were not very good practice tests. And this was a real thing that happened in February, March of 2024 when we were first taking the SAT, the new version of the SAT, the digital version. What happened was I and many students took tests 1, 2, and 3 for practice, and we got a sense of what this test was like. And I and all the other students thought the SAT was going to be very, very easy, especially in math, where that Desmos calculator was this amazing new tool that basically solved the section for you. But then test 4 came along, and that one was a game changer. And a lot of students did not take test 4 before they went in for the real exam. And so they were riding high. They were getting 1550s on their practice tests. And then the real test came, and it was a shock. Scores dropped like 200 points. There was a huge panic. It was a big deal. And the reason was, again, those first few practice tests were way too easy, but by test 4, the College Board had kind of figured something out, and this test, I do believe, is a pretty accurate representation of the real exam. So I was figuring that out in real time in the video you just watched, and you'll see in my other videos, I am much faster as I go through those hard modules. I am moving faster from the beginning, and it's a really tight race still, but at least the pacing is something I'm expecting. That's a big takeaway from this exam, is those hard modules are very, very hard. I'm also a little skeptical of the scoring on this. So the 3 wrong getting a 780 sounds pretty good. I do think that that's pretty accurate for a real test because, yeah, they are trying to make the test harder, but that also allows them to kind of stratify the scoring a bit near the top end. So you might get 3 wrong and only lose 20 points. That's pretty typical. But for me to get 1 wrong in reading and lose 40 points, that seems pretty high. Usually I say that a question is worth 10 to 20 points. You can learn more about that estimate in my videos on the scoring system for the SAT, which I put in the description. But it seems unlikely that you'd normally lose 40 points for one question on the modern version of the SAT. So maybe it's a little easier of a reading module than usual. I don't know. If you took this test and got 1 wrong and you got a different score than me, or even the same score, please put in the comments. I'd be curious kind of what that amounts to. And one kind of explanation I have for why I lost 40 points is the question I got wrong was not a hard question. It was a medium question. And one weird thing about the scoring, it's very counterintuitive, is it turns out the easy questions seem to be worth more points. The hard questions, less points. And you can't count it. It's not like, oh, this is a 10-point question, this is a 20-point question, but it's a general trend. And so I might have lost 40 points because I kind of made a careless mistake. And let that be a warning. On any version of the SAT, the easy questions you need to be able to get right. That's where you get your points. Plus, they penalize you more probably for those easier questions. So you don't want to make careless mistakes. It is better to get hard ones wrong and run out of time on some hard ones than it is to make an easy mistake somewhere else. So just keep that in mind. But I do wonder if this test, maybe on the reading side is a little easier than usual. But to answer a question I know many of you are going to ask, is this test a good realistic representation of the real SAT? Yes. All of the current practice tests are good representations of the real SAT. I didn't used to be able to say that when tests 1, 2, and 3 were around, but now that they're retired and killed off, I do think that every test in Bluebook numbers 4 through 10 as of August 2025 are good representations of the real exam. The pacing is pretty good. The scoring is pretty good. So if you're getting a particular score on one of these practice tests, that is going to be a good prediction of what you would do on the real exam. So keep that in mind, but that is not something you have to worry about, that this test was out of the ordinary. I think it's close enough to ordinary to be a very good way to measure your progress. So hopefully this did kind of clear things up. Again, I am sorry for the poor editing and all that back in the day, but if you do watch my walkthroughs for the other practice tests, I think you will be much, much happier. And remember that the individual videos for the individual questions on this particular test are in the link in the description, so make sure you check that out. And also check out my channel for tons of free resources, lots of things about all the different topics on the test. I've got lots of lessons, lots of practice questions. It's a great way to improve your scores by focusing on particular strategies and particular topics. Once again, I am Mike Settele. I hope this helped. And remember, when it comes to your scores, don't settle for less, Settele for more. Thanks for watching.